Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the live draft show for the 2025 NFL Drafts Elevation 5280 Sports. My name is What's the Deal Sports, Zach Deal, the host of the Pies on Sports podcast, along with my co host Dante, who will be joining us in a little bit. We should also have Rashad on here as well. He was just in here. I think his connection went down. Here he is back again. Here's Rashad. Let me add him back to the stage. What's up, Rashad? How we doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm looking forward to this NFL draft coverage. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we have an interesting dynamic right now between the hosts. So Rashad is a Giants fan, and I'm an Eagles fan. So we're gonna have an exclusive lens towards NFC East talk. Probably do some Dallas Cowboys banter. So everybody loves
Yeah,
to jump on the Cowboys and talk about how they haven't been to an NFC Championship in 30 years. So we'll talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
that in a little
yeah.
bit. We'll also talk about the Washington Commanders, who positioned themselves pretty well this year after
Yeah.
having a top pick last year with the second overall pick and turning things around quickly and now picking at pick 29. So we'll cover those teams extensively. Obviously, Rashad's going to be talking um, very quickly into this coverage. Probably, I would assume, the first 30 minutes. I feel like everybody consensuously knows who the top three picks are going to be. It's going to be Cam Ward with the first overall pick to the Titans, not to spoil anything. And then most likely Travis Hunter with the second overall pick to the Browns. Abdul Carter with a third overall pick potentially to the Giants. That's the favorites. Although I've been seeing some rumors circulating around social media in the last hour or so saying that the Browns are fielding calls on the second overall pick. So we'll see if some fireworks start happening early in the draft. I personally think the fireworks start at pick 4, but what do you think your bold prediction for the top 5 or top 10 is, Rashad?
I think Cam Ward gonna go number one. I think number two will be Shador Sanders. No, not Shador Sanders. Travis Hunter. But with the Giants, is it gonna be Shador Sanders or Abdul Carter? I think it's gonna be one of those two guys. For the fourth pick, the Patriots. They number four pick, correct? The fourth pick, the
Yeah,
Patriots. Okay, so they got a quarterback already. So maybe they go with somebody on offense or defense, something like that. So, um, but I see, as far as like the fifth pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars obviously got Trevor Lawrence. Um, but maybe they go with a wide receiver, maybe go with a tight end, maybe. I know Evan Ingram. I don't think he's with Jacksonville, right? I think he signed with somebody else.
nah, he got released this offseason. Now he's
Got
with the
released.
Denver
Okay,
Broncos. The Denver
so they
Broncos
may
are
go
also
with
another team that's reported
yeah,
to be looking to move up very high from pick 20 to potentially in the top 5 or maybe
yeah,
top 10, depending on where Ashton Genty goes. I think the favorite on the sports books right now online is for the Denver Broncos position to be drafted, the first selected player to be a running back. So it looks like they're trying to target that. It's pretty smart. They moved on from Javonte Williams, who they never really got the most out of, and really just couldn't find his way into the end zone and wasn't as dynamic as a running back that they kind of want to progress with their quarterback. So I think the sweepstakes for Ashton Genty is where it gets interesting. Like I said, the fireworks starting with pick 4. I think since the Patriots are rumored to take Will Campbell, who a lot of people think is a good pick and a top tackle, but compared to some of the other prospects, isn't really fitting for the fourth overall pick. I could see like a team like the Chicago Bears at pick 10, who benefited a lot from that Bryce Young trade back in the day that netted them the number 1 overall pick to get Caleb Williams. Also, in this draft, they have 2 second round picks back to back practically with the 39th and 41st overall pick. So they have some ammo if they want to move up. And it makes sense for the Bears to go up and try and get another piece to their offense with Ben Johnson, the former Lions offensive coordinator, being the head coach now. And he had a dynamic running back duo between Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. So I think DeAndre Swift and Ashton Genty will look good in the backfield together. And it makes sense if Will Campbell's the player that the Patriots want to take, but if they can get him, move back, and gain some assets, and then maybe can fill out the roster. Because at the end of the day, with the Patriots, I do believe they need to take a tackle to protect Drake May, but when was the last time the Patriots have had like a dynamic skill position player? Like Stephon Diggs is that guy now, but we're not talking about Stephon Diggs when he first got traded to the Bills. You know what I mean? We're talking about a guy that's coming off a torn ACL. So he's still a pretty good player, but I think they could still add more to just their overall skill set on offense. So I wouldn't even be surprised if they went out and drafted Ashton Genty and stayed put at 4.
Yeah, I was gonna elaborate on, but the Jacksonville pick. I won't be surprised they go with that Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, because again, with Evan Ingram being released, don't I won't be surprised they go and draft him because draft is all about need. So Jacksonville probably need that guy that Trevor Lawrence need to go to on third down. Obviously, he's a big time tight end, so I think wouldn't shock me if they go with him that pick.
Yeah, I believe that would be a smart pick. I see there's like people talking about the tight ends kind of falling down the board a little bit, but both of the tight end prospects are like consensuously ranked inside the top 10 players of most people's boards. So I think Tyler Warren's dynamic and do so many different things for you. There's rumors that Ted McMillan, the Arizona wide receiver, could be the pick there. And the comparison is Liam Cohen, the former Bucks offensive coordinator, who had guys like Mike Evans and also Trevor Lawrence in college playing with tall receivers like T. Higgins and Justin Ross and benefiting from those guys. So, Ted McMillan's another guy that they can look at, or Ashton Genty if the Bears don't swoop up at pick 4 and do that hypothetical trade that I was talking about. So, but also, I'm a big Mason Graham guy. The defensive tackle with Michigan. I think any of those guys. I think the Jaguars. There's rumors that they might be willing to move out of their pick, but I think it would just be wise for them to stay put and just draft one of those guys because they're almost guaranteed one of the top players in the draft. So, I mean, you got to stay put and just do that because if you trade out, you're never guaranteed. Like in a situation being an Eagles fan for me, if the Eagles trade out at 32, there's almost a 99% chance that the pick that they get in a future year's first round pick, like the future first that they get, won't be the 32nd overall pick, won't be a higher pick since they won the Super Bowl. But if you had the 5th overall pick and you trade out to a future year, there's no guarantee that it's going to work out the way that it did for the Panthers or for the Bears when they, traded with the Panthers and they ended up with the first overall pick. You know what I mean? When they traded out. So, I would stay put at 5 and draft one of those dynamic players, especially if the Patriots stay put and take Will Campbell, because then one of those best players, you're even guaranteed a higher level player that you can get. So
Yeah, like I said, this is going to be a very fascinating draft, man. We look at, like I said, you got the headliners, Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, Abdul Carter. But obviously, in the history of draft, you're always going to have some sleepers, some guys that's going to be, overlooked and come out to be the diamond in the rough. So historically, these drafts always, have some draft steals, some guys that being overshadowed by the big names. But yeah, this draft is going to be just like
I feel like we also have some big name guys that are getting slept on too, like the Shador Sanders of the world and Jalen Milrow. So it's going to be interesting to see where they end up. And there's a lot of juice towards Jalen Milrow ending up in the first round tonight. So that's going to be
yeah,
interesting where the quarterbacks lie. Obviously, that happens every year. You saw last year how crazy that dynamic was. And just, we had a historic draft where the first defensive player was drafted at what, pick 17? So we had a guy like Dallas Turner that, like in most drafts, is getting picked in the top 5 as an edge player coming from Alabama, like a pedigree school, and he's fallen all the way down draft boards because all these offensive players are getting taken. So and the Eagles stayed put and benefited from taking Quinyon Mitchell, and they got like the number 1 rated corner on most people's boards fall to them at pick 23. So it's just crazy how things work out, and just like trying to navigate the board. But talking about some of the headlines in here, you're a former Giants guy. I'm not even trying to run it in here. I'm actually going to ask you a true question. Like, there's so much steam behind Ashton Genty being a top 5 pick. Obviously, being a Giants fan, you know where I'm going in this direction. With Saquon Barkley being the
yeah.
former 2nd overall pick, but like I think regardless of people saying that that wasn't the right pick in the situation, he was by far, if not the best player in the draft, he was a top three player in that draft. So I don't think you can ever change that. But and you obviously see when he gets around the right players in the right offense how dynamic he can be. But do you think it's worth taking a running back this high if they're like worthy of the pick, or do you, or you just kind of have a just a bad taste in your mouth from that Giants situation with Saquon Barkley?
Or you think that the Giants should go with Genty? That
Well,
he
I'm
should
just
be
asking
the
in general for like any team that's looking at drafting a running back in the top five, comparing to like getting what people would see as more of an impactful position, like someone to protect your franchise quarterback, or a franchise quarterback, or an edge rusher, or like those premium positions.
I can see the Dallas Cowboys going after him, Genty. I think they
You
need a
think
running
they
back.
they would, like, move up? Like, do you think he's, like, some like because there's a lot of teams that, like, might be looking to move up to get a guy like Ashton Genty, or do you just think
Yeah,
I mean, because this running back class is so deep that a lot of people are also trying to not justify it by saying, like, "Oh, you can just get a really good running back," but how many guys are getting, I saw a comparison online that was made to say the floor for Ashton Genty is, LaDainian Tomlinson, and the ceiling's Walter Payton. So, I mean, that's, like, two of the eight greatest running backs of all time. So, I mean, he's getting crazy praise. I mean, he's a hell of a player too. The crazy thing about Ashton Genty is everybody likes to talk about guys like Jameer Gibbs that are versatile and can catch the ball out of the backfield too, and how Jameer Gibbs when he was the pick for the Lions at pick 12 a couple years back. People were like, "Oh, what is this?" And then last year he had 20 total touchdowns in the regular season. You just saw how dynamic of a player that he is, but he also had a lot of receiving profile to him coming into the draft. Ashton Genty was actually a wide receiver back in the day, so this is also a guy that can run routes with the best of them too. He's also not the biggest guy, so he's not going to be the best in pass protection, but what he does with the ball in his hands is just so dynamic. It's just there's a reason why like almost every team past the Giants, like 4 through 8, regardless of who's on the board and what their team needs, they can almost justify taking that player. And there's a lot of teams that are trying to move up for him too. So
yeah. Like I said, I think if the Cowboys want to make a move, I wouldn't be shocked if they trade up to get him, or maybe if he slipped, because maybe they might look at his size. He's not the biggest guy at the running back position. He's shifty, he's fast, but he could possibly slip, possibly. But if the Cowboys want to like make some splash, I think they maybe trade up. But I think the Cowboys may take a look at Genty, Aston Genty, because the running game they don't have. Their running game is not as good as it used to be. Pollard, he's with the Titans. Obviously, the guy, Ezekiel Elliott. They brought him back last year, but he was not effective. He was not the same running
yeah.
back that he used to be. So I think the Cowboys should be maybe the team that
They
they
also had
go after
Rico
him.
Dowdle, who was like a solid running back for them last year,
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
also like accumulated over 1,000 yards, but he didn't have like a rush over 20 yards, which was pretty interesting. And he didn't have a lot of rushing touchdowns. I think as a team, the Cowboys had like 7 total rushing touchdowns, which is crazy for a team like them. They usually is physical, and they just had a legendary offensive lineman retire too. So that's just going to impact their physicality just in general too. So I feel like the guy though, if like the Cowboys are going to move up and make like a big splash, I feel like the prototypical player for them is Travis Hunter. I mean, it would cost an absolute bag to go up and get him, but like you know, Dion's protege, and literally Dion's protege, as in the way that he plays, being able to play both sides of the ball, and even more to an extent than what Dion did, and being actually mentored by Dion too. Like I feel like that's just like a match made in heaven. But um, I've always said to myself, like being an Eagles fan, I would I'd rather deal with Abdul Carter going to the Giants at pick 3 than Travis Hunter going to the Giants at pick 3. Because I mean, if you're taking Travis Hunter as a GM, then you're getting two opportunities to fail at two different positions with a high level player that can play two different spots or end up actually playing both spots simultaneously. So just feel like that value as a GM is just too much to pass on. All right, so it's official. The Titans have just selected Miami quarterback Cameron Ward. Um, The Titans had so many issues. There were so many memes that were going around with Will Levis this year online. Like, the one pick that he threw at the pick six where he's like bent over on his knees and he's got his hands over his head. He's just like doing crazy stuff all the time. He just was absolutely reckless, like Brett Favre-esque. Oh man, now we got fireworks already. The Browns and the Jaguars have made a trade. We'll see what's going on
Wow,
here.
wow.
Wow. All right, so we got the dominoes are falling already. So
Mm, that's interesting.
I have it from Ian Rappaport right here. The Browns receive the fifth overall pick, 36 overall pick, 126th. All right, so fifth is first round, 36 is second round, 126 is fourth round, and a first rounder in 2026. The Jags receive the second overall pick, 104 in the fourth round, and 200 in the sixth round. It looks like Liam Cohen is going to target Travis Hunter. So that's, a
Mm.
very interesting dynamic. So, I mean, they
Yeah,
drafted
that
Trayvon
would be.
Walker. The Jags drafted Trayvon Walker, the first overall pick, then Trevor Lawrence as well. So, they just had Christian Kirk move on. They had Brian Thomas coming up in a phenomenal rookie season. Gabe Davis, who, sometimes goes for 3 touchdowns on 3 catches and 100 yards, and then other games he won't have a target for like 4 weeks. So it doesn't even make sense with him, but he's on a contract too. So, um, yeah, this is interesting. Crazy part is the Jags also have a 34-year-old GM making these bold moves. So, this
Mm.
guy's getting after it early in his career. This is almost like Madden like stuff, but hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and with Trevor Lawrence, if they, Jaguars draft Travis Hunter, that's going to be a huge weapon for Trevor Lawrence. So it improves their receiving core. So that I think that would be a great move. That's a bold move right there. I didn't see that coming. Looked like he was going to go to the Browns, but now it looks like he's going to be going to
Also, if you look at
the
it from like
Jaguars.
both angles, they drafted Jalen Ramsey, who is one of my favorite players of all time personally, with
Yeah,
the fifth overall pick back in the day. So they feel comfortable. And this is all. I mean, we're speculating right now. I guess that's like, we're assuming that it's Travis Hunter. It like even with
yeah,
them drafting Trayvon Walker with the first overall pick a couple years back, like it wouldn't be a bad pick for them to go draft Abdul Carter, but it just I feel like it makes more sense to go get um, Travis Hunter here.
yeah. It's interesting, man, to see what they're going to do. Maybe they go with somebody else, but yeah, I think you got to go with Travis Hunter. I think you need Trevor Lawrence needs more weapons as he can get. He'll be a game breaker. If you utilize his get skill set, not just on the offensive end, but the defensive end, he'll be a dynamic player on both sides. That would be something unique. You see a player
Yeah,
play on the offensive end, defensive end. So I think they're going to go with Travis Hunter. I think Hunter's going to
yeah.
get drafted.
I'm just trying to gather some thoughts because I didn't know we were going to get bombarded this early in the draft. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? There was a
yeah,
lot
that
of
makes the draft great.
rumors saying that this was going to be the thing, but like if this was I don't know what the suspense was about. You know what I mean? Because the Titans were known to be drafting Cam Ward, so why wasn't this trade made? Like, did this just, you know, come to fruition in the last like 10 to 15 minutes? Like, did this just like abruptly happen? Like, is this an impulse move or is this something that was planned and like, to build up the draft a little bit? They waited to announce this pick because it was obvious. Like, I don't know, how they did it presentation wise, but this is interesting. And a move from 2 to 5, like you saw when the Eagles got Devontae Smith and they jumped in front of the Giants, where the Giants had to move back, and then they ended up taking Kadarius Toney when they traded with the Cowboys. That was from 12 to 2 or 12 to 10. So that was only 2 picks, and they gave up like I think a third and a fourth with the Cowboys to make that happen. They took Micah Parsons, we took Devontae Smith, but a pick from 5 to 2, which is only 3 spots, which is one more spot, but that high up in the draft cost you a first round pick along with other round picks. You know what I mean? So that just shows you the leap. And like for a player like this, like if you tell me that you want to jump up and go draft Travis Hunter, like I'm going to make you pay for it. So if I'm the GM that's trading that pick, because you know if Travis Hunter is as advertised and you traded out of this pick and didn't draft him as the Browns, that's going to be another add to the list of mistakes that the Browns have made as
Yeah,
an
that's true.
organization.
Yeah, that's true, man. The Browns been so maligned so many years since they moved back to Cleveland. It's been like a disaster, man. It's like for the most part. So yeah, that's a bad move if they go with Travis Hunter, Jacksonville. And what do Cleveland do? Yes, we got the picks and all that, but you had a chance to get a guy that won the Heisman. Who's going to be an impact player. I don't think he's going to be a bust as long as you use him right. But you're absolutely right about Cleveland, man. They gotta get this thing right. They gotta click on all cylinders, especially with the quarterback position, especially with that. So yeah, I'm surprised that they decided to trade out of this number 2 pick.
Where would you personally play Travis Hunter at? Where would you try him at? Is if the Jaguars, specifically that team in the Jacksonville Jaguars, are going to take him, if that's the pick, where would you play him at, corner or wide receiver, or actually try him out on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I make him play both sides of the ball because he could be an impact player on the offensive end and the defensive end. That's something that's rare in the NFL in today's NFL. I think he has the condition, the guy obviously being great condition to do that, in great condition to play both sides of the ball. But I think you got to play him on the offensive end and the defensive end. I think he's that guy that could
Do
be a
you like try and lighten
transformational
the load,
player.
as in like trying to play him at like slot corner instead of like a full time outside receiver, and like maybe like or like slot or nickel corner, or like slot wide receiver? Like, do you try and lighten the load by doing it that way, or like straight up number one wide receiver, number one corner, like you're trying it out
Now I
that
go with
way?
the number 1 wide receiver against the number 1 corner. I think he's a number 1 cornerback. I think his ability to, his athleticism, everything. I think he'd be a great cornerback as well, full time as a number 1 guy. I think he's that kind of player. So I think I'll start him at starting cornerback, going against Justice Jefferson, whoever it is, the big time receiver. I think he's a number 1 cornerback in the league.
But somebody said it too, though. Somebody was like, "Is this guy going to really be able to go match up with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean on one side of the ball, and then go try and cover Devontae Smith and AJ Brown on the other side of the ball?" It's like, that's a tough ask. Like, so we'll see. But the pick is coming in for the Jaguars now. Do you bet at all, Rashad?
Oh no, I don't bet. No.
No, you don't bet. Yeah, I play some bets for the draft. So there it is. It's
Yep.
Travis Hunter
They're gonna.
officially.
Yep. That's a big move for Jacksonville. Maybe even potentially bad move by Cleveland Browns. I mean, I understand why you want to trade out of this pick, but they got hit on all cylinders with these picks because when you trade a guy that's a transformational player who's capable of being that, you gotta see it obviously at the NFL level. That would be a bad look for Cleveland if they don't, get it done with these picks that they traded for and that they have at the disposal. So they have to really, you know, hit a grand slam with these picks. They got to definitely make up for a guy that they had in their grasp, and now you trade that away, and now he's going to Jacksonville. So Cleveland has definitely got
Especially
to
a team
step
like
up.
them, like a team that's like historically struggled with having high level talent on either side of the ball at any position. You know what I mean? Like forever, they're not saying he's a bad player; he's a phenomenal player. But their best player for like a decade and a half was Joe Thomas, a left tackle. So a team that struggled to have like skill position talent for a really long time. It's very bold to pass on a player like this. And, I just can't get over the fact that if this pick ends up hitting, I mean, this is something that they'll never be able to live down ever. And maybe they see it like a franchise like them where, um, you know, like they've already had a bunch of bad stuff happen to them in their franchise's history. Like, what else can, go wrong? We'll accumulate some picks. They did get a first rounder out of it, but like, to me, I'm just in love with Travis Hunter as a player. So like, I just can't understand. Like, I'm all on board. I'm giving an A+ for the Jaguars going and targeting to get him and trading up.
Yeah,
But like, and I justify giving up a first round pick and whatever it took to get him. Um, and, I'm usually a fan of teams gaining assets, especially a team that needs to build around and, get a lot of different assets so they can spend them on high level players. But, passing on Travis Hunter, who is 2 to 3 players potentially in himself with what he's able to do, is just very bold to me.
like I said, that's a great pick for Jacksonville, man. Just take some guts to make a trade like that. And that's the thing about the draft. The teams taking chances. You gotta be a risk taker,
Especially a new
and I think
regime
that's what
like that.
Jacksonville did.
That's why it makes sense for like a new regime to come in and make a statement right off the bat. This is a
Yeah,
guy where like any pick, like second or like compared to every other pick, I'd have to go down the list. Like I can go off the top of my head and read some memory, but I'd have to go down the list comparing like second overall picks in history. Like I feel like this is the least risky first or second overall pick ever. It's not a quarterback. This guy can play 2 different positions. If he fails at one, then you try him at a different, or you can just vice versa, get whatever you can get out of him. He can also return punts and do that in the special teams game too. So, and just with the ball in his hands, he's dynamic. So just get the ball into his hands and he can make plays happen. On defense, he's very instinctual. Really good zone corner that just jumps routes, and maybe he can play a different defensive back position if corner doesn't work out for him. I just feel like there's so many options with him, and like he's fully dedicated to football, and that's his main focus. And this is just a guy that's, this is like that. I would justify the first overall pick with Travis Hunter.
like I said, that's going to be a great pick. The combination between Trevor Lawrence and Hunter, that's going to be a great combination. They just develop the chemistry that they need between each other. That's going to be a dynamic quarterback slash wide receiver duo. So this is a great pick. Now the Giants are on the clock. See what they do. Whether it's going to be Shador Sanders or Abdul Carr. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they don't do. They're on the clock. So the pick
So
is
what
in.
happens with Kayvon Thibodeau? Do you think if Abdul Carter, who's most likely the favorite guy leading into today. I think looking at the books, he was like almost like a minus 2,400 favorite betting wise. 24 times the money down for him to be the pick for you guys, but also Shador Sanders could be that guy just because there might be guys, the Giants might be looking over their shoulder. I heard a lot of people say that Brian Dable would rather go out and target his guy if he believes he sees his quarterback at pick 3 and not hesitate and just make that guy the pick there. But also that was the issue when you guys had the 2 first-round picks when it was pick 6 and pick 17, and you ended up hitting really big on the 17th pick with Dexter Lawrence, but you drafted Daniel Jones with the 6th overall pick, and that was an
Yeah,
overdraft, and obviously that didn't
yeah.
end too well. So what do you do with Kayvon Thibodeau? Um,
That's
because there
that's
was
a good
also
question.
rumors that the Giants wanted to move up for Cam Ward, and
Yeah.
maybe like Kayvon Thibodeau could be used for them to draft Abdul Carter at pick 3 and then trade back into the first round using him as a trade bait as well. So, I mean, that was the 7th overall pick in another year where you guys had 2 first-round picks in Evan Neal and Kevin Thibodeau. So, I guess those 2 guys haven't worked out the best either. But um, what would you personally do with Kayvon?
Well, Kayvon Thibodeau has been a disappointment with the Giants. Very disappointing. He was pretty good in his rookie year, but he had injuries last year. I mean, that's a good question. I already saw the pick. They got Abdul Carter, so he's with the Giants. So
No
that's
hesitation
gonna
either.
be,
I mean, that was like,
huh?
that pick was ran in the first minute that they were on the clock.
Yeah, yep. So they ain't wasting no time, man. So Shador Sanders, I think may slip in this draft. I could see a slippage. I don't think he's gonna get drafted in the top 5 or top 10. Let's it's all about needs, obviously. So the drama is gonna build with Shador Sanders not being picked in the first 3 picks in the draft. But with the Giants getting Abdul Carter, he's a pass rusher. He's a guy that who knows if he's gonna be the next, Michael Parsons, but the Giants got hit big with this guy. This guy's got to be a pass rusher. He got to be devastating in the backfield. You got to get after the quarterback. You got to make it happen. Be a game record on the defensive end because if not, he's going to be another bust. So I think they got hit it big with this guy, Abdul Carter.
Yeah, I believe so too. And I feel like the signs were kind of on the roll. If you see me looking down at my phone, I'm like tweeting stuff during the draft. So I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm tweeting stuff as well. But yeah, I agree. He's got to be a force in the backfield and he's got to make plays. And, this getting after the quarterback is one of the biggest ways to start to create a profile for your team that's consistently drafting at the top of the draft. So I feel like the writing was on the wall for Kayvon when they went out and made that trade for Brian Burns because they gave him a huge contract extension. It was almost like we drafted you high in the draft with a top 10 pick, and you haven't lived up to expectations. So we got to get somebody else to be the main guy with you as second fiddle. And that kind of was just showing what they were about. So, I think this shows that Kayvon, either is going to be a part of the rotation and they can get something out of him that way, and they can, build one of the best rotations with talent guys, with having, Brian Burns, Thibodeau, and Carter all teaming up with each other. But it's going to depend on the personality that Kayvon has, because I feel like he's the third guy now compared to what Brian Burns and Abdul Carter are going to be expected from for the team. Like, this is the pass rushing 1A and 1B is Abdul Carter and Brian Burns for the Giants now. I mean, that's a really good
Absolutely.
pass rush if I'm thinking about it now. You got Dexter Lawrence coming up the middle with
Yeah, yeah,
Abdul
yeah,
Carter
yeah,
and Brian Burns on either side. Like, that's a little bit
yeah,
frightening.
yeah,
If
yeah.
the Eagles' offensive line, if the Eagles didn't give out 4 massive contracts to their offensive linemen to have one of the best offensive lines, if not the best in the entire league, I would feel a lot more frightened for a team that doesn't have high level offensive linemen. That's going to be a really tough matchup across the board for them, because there's a bunch of different guys, and now if the Kayvon thing ends up working out for the Giants, then they can have a fresh pass rusher in rotation to keep rotating those guys through.
Yeah, with Kayvon Thibodeau, he may be looking at obviously trying to get like a second contract. The Giants got to decide whether they're gonna go with a 5th year option. That's why you brought up a good question about what they do with Kayvon Thibodeau. Do they bring him back? Well, I think they should keep him, give him a chance to build with, like I said, Carter. Take Carter under his wing and try to be a great dynamic duo as a pass rushing tandem. So, but the contract situation could be a factor. I see right here. There's certain certainty that he may get a second contract as the team decides on a 5th year option for Thibodeau. So you may make a break point about that. Will they bring him back or release him? We'll see. But Carter, I think it's a good pick. I thought they'd go with Shador Sanders, but again, they want defense. They want to know that's what defense Giants have been about historically is the defense. So they're gonna build the defense. They can always get a quarterback in this draft. That's the thing about the draft. There are other quarterbacks they can get other than Shador Sanders or some other quarterbacks. So I think the Giants made the right thing of getting going on the defensive end.
Yeah, and would you want them to trade back into the first round for Shador Sanders? Would you be down for them to do that?
If he's available, but like I said, what's going on right now, it looks like he's going to be slipping way down. So unless they trade up, yeah, you make a great point about that. But like I said, you can always draft a quarterback. Will Howard is still out there from Ohio State. He's pretty good. They won a national championship. Will Howard's in the part. He's a senior, right? He's part of his draft class. Will
Yeah,
Howard.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah. So go with Will Howard. Um, you know, Dylan Gabriel, but maybe from Oregon. So there's other good quarterbacks that they can draft the Giants other than just Shador Sanders because we get called in big names, then we overlook like other quarterbacks. So I think the Giants definitely could draft a quarterback, always can get one. It's like the tight end position. I think they need to address the tight end position. The Giants. I don't know if Tyler Warren going to be available, no, but they can always get another tight end that's available. So I think the Giants got a shot to definitely get a quarterback in this draft, other than Shador Sanders. But I think Shador Sanders is going to slip. The way things going on right now, I think he's going to slip maybe out of the top 10.
Yeah, I could see him falling out of the top 10. They actually had his draft position on the betting books. I think it started at like 8.5, and then it slipped all the way down to like 21.5. So I think the Steelers are like the floor where a team might try and trade up in the teams to go and try and get him. But I don't think Shador's going to, like some people think he's going to fall all the way out of the first round. I don't believe that's going to happen. And I think there's a better chance of Jalen Milroe getting drafted at the back end of the first round than Shador falling out of the first round. I think Jackson Dart's also a lot to go in there. But for the Giants' sake, are the Giants going to pick again tonight?
I'm checking to see if they're gonna have another pick. Let me see.
Yeah, they don't have another pick. That was actually the part of this draft. I'm just asking you, like, do you believe if they're going to trade up or not?
Yeah, yeah, trade up. Yeah, that's a good question. That you make a great point. Because if they want to get Sanders, yeah, they might have to trade up back into the first round. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's the only pick that they have. I see the teams that are drafted.
Yeah, and like
Yeah,
the value of
that's a
like
good
a
question.
quarterback on that 5th-year option. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and
I don't
hey,
think
if
they're
there's
gonna
like
do
a
it,
team,
but we'll see.
if Washington and the Eagles made a trade last year for the Eagles to acquire Cooper DeJean, and Washington got Mike Sanistrell, so it worked out for both of their defensive backfields. But maybe if Washington at 29 or the Eagles at 32 think Shador's not a good prospect, and the Giants want to trade up with them to go get Shador, and they know that, and they want to help them out because they don't believe in Shador themselves as a team, maybe that could be something that happens. There's always crazy thought process, and if anybody's thinking about crazy scenarios like that, it's the Eagles GM Howie Roseman. So, but yeah, as a Giants fan, what would you give this grade for this pick?
With the Carter pick,
Yeah.
I give it an A minus because, like I said, we gotta be careful to see what got careful how this guy's gonna pan out. We don't know how he's gonna pan out as a player. So, like I said, they could definitely draft a quarterback, even if it's not Shador Sanders, but this guy gotta be an impact player right away because obviously all the pressure that's on Joe Shane and Ryan Dable, they gotta hit a grand slam with this draft where you gotta have impact
Well,
players
this was
that
also
can
a guy that was
immediately
talked about
get
as
it
like
done.
the solidified number one overall pick before Cam Ward came into the picture. Like this was a guy that the Titans were
Yeah,
going to pick in the beginning of the process. So you
that's right.
arguably walked away with a lot of people's number one player on the board. It was either him or Travis Hunter or like Ashton Jenkins somewhere like around those guys, but mainly Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. So as a Giants fan, I feel like I'd be happy walking away with that. The Patriots pick is in. They picked pretty quickly too. Reportedly, the Browns are going to pick at pick 5 and stay there and not trade out. So the Patriots stayed put and drafted Will Campbell, left tackle. So they didn't move out. They drafted their guy. They stayed put. Mike Vrabel taking over a new regime, used to play for the Patriots, obviously a longtime Titans coach when the Titans were like sneaky good with Derrick Henry leading the way with Ryan Tannehill, and they were like the number one seed. They were also the team that took out Tom Brady in his last playoff game in New England. So Mike Vrabel's the guy that can actually turn this thing around pretty quickly. How stale and dry they got after Tom Brady left with Bill Belichick for a couple years. Then obviously the Gerard Mayo experiment for 1 year didn't work out. Although he started off his coaching tenure with a win versus Cincinnati, which was a gigantic win, and then things just kind of went downhill from there. So they need a left tackle. To go protect Drake May, who they picked with a third overall pick last year. This guy played in the SEC going against the best pass rushers that you can possibly go against. And this was their guy. Some people didn't have him in the top 5 prospects. Most people didn't, but somewhere in the top 10 to top 12, top 15 range. And they stayed put at 4. So we already saw a team come up and get a guy at pick 2, but they put at pick 4 when they probably could have traded back. They could have been the team that made a move back and allowed another team to come up. Maybe another team was asking for Ashton Genty, and they just straight up said no. We're going to stay put and pick Will Campbell. So I still think, like we talked about before, Stephon Diggs, isn't prime Stephon Diggs, and they need a lot of help from their skill position players. Like they need to put talent around Drake May to actually make plays, and they had some whiffs on draft picks in that department last year. So like Jalen Polk, who just didn't do anything, and some of the other guys when they had like Lab McConkey sitting right there in front of them where they could have made a move for. But you know,
Yeah, Campbell is a great pick because he's a powerful drive blocker. He's weighs 319 pounds, and he runs a sub 5 second 40-yard dash. And he had a 9'5". That was the second broad jump was 9'5". The offensive tackles at the combine. So this guy's a big time uh, part for this offensive line. That's what they need to protect Drake May. So this guy's definitely going to be a big time player as long as he stay healthy, and he's definitely going to deliver a great addition to that offensive line as far as pass protection and run blocking. So I think this is a great pick for the Patriots.
Mike Vrabel looks pumped. There wasn't, Ashton Genty was rumored, but this was one of the other contentious picks where some people just didn't want to believe it just based off like Will Campbell like being the fourth overall pick itself. But pretty much the entire process leading up to the draft until this moment where he just got drafted, Will Campbell was the guy for the Patriots, and it came to fruition. So
Yep. Now we got Cleveland. They on the clock. The pick is in. So the Browns are gonna make the pick and see what they got. Who they gonna draft? We'll see.
they better get it right. If they draft Ashton Genty here, that would be very interesting. They just lost Nick
Hmm.
Chubb, so they could use a dynamic in their backfield. Jerome Ford has been good, but people don't understand that like running backs is like that's like a type of position where a guy like Jerome Ford can fill in, but he's not going to be a long term starter for you. You know what I mean? You have to go out there and actually go out and get a talent. If Ashton Genty might not be the pick here, but it would make sense,
Yeah.
and that'd be a good pick to really start off to make their offense better. But I still can't get over how they didn't draft Travis Hunter. So we'll see if that comes back to haunt them at some point. But
Like I said, it's gonna be a very interesting pick right here to see what they do. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, he has to really prove that he can still play in this league. Um, I don't think they're gonna go with the quarterback, Shador Sanders. So they got Joe Flacco. I believe they I think they resigned him, did they?
yeah,
Gave him a contract, Joe
they
Flacco.
signed Joe
Yeah.
Flacco. He's also
So
um,
yeah, I'm even
40
shocked they
years
go
old
with
now.
Sanders,
So
but we'll see.
quarterback, I mean, yeah, Deshaun Watson also retore his Achilles, so he's not going to be playing this
Yeah.
season. So, I mean, he's
Okay.
pretty much done with the Browns, and they're going to move on. So, um,
I think they I think they go with Sanders then. I think if he's not going to be playing along with Deshaun Watson, you can't rely on Flacco because Flacco's an older quarterback. So I think they go with Shador Sanders then because that's what they need, to be that franchise guy. Some that Cleveland, obviously, they had Baker Mayfield. Obviously, they moved away from him. I think they go with Sanders. I think you got to go with him. Shador Sanders.
oh, the pick is in. Um, I know the name. I'm not going to spoil it. We'll let the pick come in. I'm going to try and be better because I got Adam Schefter's tweet notifications to my phone. So, sometimes that stuff pops up and, they tweet early. But this was a name. Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. So there's rumors that he could fall at the top 10. He was always way too good to fall to the top 10. People were making these weird claims like, oh, if you look at like a top 5 overall draft, the defensive tackle, like if you're literally looking at him, the eye visual test um, doesn't pass for him. Like he's not like an intimidating dude, but like if you watch this dude on tape, like this dude's an absolute beast and he brings it every single down. That's the most important thing. And just remember how good Michigan was a couple years ago with him, Will Johnson leading the way. His other defensive tackle mate that played next to him, Kenneth Grant, who most likely will be a first round pick. Um, Gigantic dude, 6'6", 339, and moves crazy well. Like I said, Will Johnson playing on the outside. Then on offense, you had Colston Loveland, and then the crazy. I don't know how much college football you watch, but the drop off from Donovan Edwards from the championship year to his senior year was absolutely crazy. We're talking about a guy that was going to get drafted in the second round as a running back, arguably putting himself in the top 3 running backs for the draft class, and now you don't even hear about him talked about in this draft class at all. But I mean, there was a reason why Michigan was so good, and this guy's just dynamic. So I love this pick for the Browns.
Yeah,
And it's
Graham is a
it's 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 panned out so far that like all the best players have been besides Will Campbell, like you could have justified like Ashton Genty or a Tyler Warren to go in front of him or a Jalen Walker. But the other four names, Cam Ward, obviously the best quarterback's always going to go number one. But the other three guys that have went, I really believe are the best players in the draft, along with Ashton
Yeah,
Genty. Those other
yeah.
guys
I
that I
was
just.
saying, with Graham, he's a very outstanding run defender. He led the Michigan's defensive lineman with 45 tackles last year. He stacks blockers. He locates the ball. He disengages in time to make plays. So this guy's a big time, defensive lineman. And also you pin him with Miles Garrett. That could be a very dynamic, duo on the defensive line because you know how great Miles Garrett is. So I think this is a great pick. I thought they'd go with Sanders with the quarterback situation, but they going with defense. But this guy definitely gonna be a big time defensive lineman because of what he can do against the offensive line that he's gonna be facing. So I think it's a good pick, pretty good pick for the Browns.
Yeah, and as I'm picking up my phone to tweet it right now, it's interesting because now with that move, they must have really been in love with Mason Graham to pass on Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter to add, because you're passing on Abdul Carter to add a different type of defensive lineman to your defensive line with Miles Garrett. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting pick. Now again, Shador Sanders, the drama's gonna keep building, man. This guy gonna continue to slip. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if he slipped through the top 10. Now, if he gets out of the top 10, maybe the Steelers can get him because the Steelers they definitely need a quarterback. No Russell Wilson. Who knows where Aaron Rodgers is gonna go? I mean, this guy can probably slip to where the Steelers gonna be picking. I think they picked like 21, I think. And from that standpoint, so don't be surprised if he slip into the 20s, range as far as getting drafted. Yeah, they pick 21, the Steelers. So this Shador Sanders, I think that's the biggest drama going on so far right now. We had the trade obviously with Jacksonville and Cleveland, and Jacksonville drafts Travis Hunter. But the drama is Shador Sanders. Obviously, he was a big headliner along with Cam Ward and everybody else, but he's slipping in his draft. So I think the drama's going to keep building to see who's going to draft this guy. Like I wouldn't be shocked if he slipped out of top 15, maybe slip down to the Steelers because the Steelers do need a quarterback. So I wouldn't be shocked the Steelers get him.
Yeah, the Steelers they can't come away from the Steelers can't walk away from the first 2 days of this draft without getting a quarterback. And the issue with them is they need a guy
Yeah,
that's going to be able to play right away almost because the options
yeah,
they have are good for a couple games as a bridge situation, but that's not going to be able to keep pace as a playoff level team. And obviously, as an NFL fan, the standard of the Steelers is always to win. Mike Tomlin is the longest tenured coach in the
mm,
NFL, and he has never had a losing season. So that just shows you where the direction of where they want to head is. So um, they need to get a quarterback. And the issue is the way that Shador plays, it would be a good pick to get Shador at that pick with that value. But their offensive line, I don't know if they can protect him. And his issue before was not being able to be protected. So now here it is, the guy that almost holds all the cards to the draft, and now stuff can start happening. Ashton Genty goes pick number 6 to the Raiders. This was a rumor
mm-hmm,
that it was going to happen all along. The Raiders drafted Josh Jacobs with a first round pick a couple years back. They love their sexy skill position players that are hyped up, even guys that have certain skill traits from back in the day with the Davis family. But this guy that checks all the boxes, so adding this guy to any offense is going to help you out.
Yeah, this is a surprising pick, but again, the draft's all about needs. This guy's a guy that can break tackles. He had 2,601 rushing yards last year. He's great at stiff arming people, shedding defenders. So he's a patient runner. So this guy's definitely going to be a big time runner, at the NFL level. So his size, he's not the biggest guy, but with what he can do in college, I think he definitely can do in the NFL. It's all about Pete Carroll, utilizing his skill set, running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield. But this is an interesting pick. I thought he would slip. Maybe the Cowboys would get him, but obviously he goes to the Raiders. So it's a very good pick by the Raiders.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. And this is a guy that instantly just changes your entire offense. This is a team that's been really dry on the offensive side of the ball. They've had some good skill position guys. You add this guy to Brock Bowers, and Now we're talking
Yeah,
about like
yeah,
that you get a receiver or two, and now we're cooking with some serious grease with some really young guys. So, um,
yeah.
but yeah,
And
this is
Geno
a
Smith got
team
some
that
weapons.
like they had Josh Jacobs, they let him go. They had Devontae Adams, they let him go. And those are some of the best skill position players in the league. They got to replenish, and you know what a way to replenish the running back position than to get Ashton Genty.
Yeah, yeah. He's great at catching the ball out of the backfield because last year he led all FBS running backs in receiving yards, 569 in 2023. So this guy has experience in knowing how to catch the ball out of the backfield, not just because he could run the ball, but he could be a danger and a threat catching the ball out of the backfield, kind of like an Emmitt Smith kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? Because Emmitt Smith was like a blend-in back in his daytime and during his time with the Cowboys. He blended in because he catch the ball and he ran the ball, so he could be like that workhorse of a back, like an Emmitt Smith kind of guy.
Yeah, but also just thinking about it now too is they need to really build up that offensive line now too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they need to. They're a team that needs to build up every position. Honestly, they you know they're just lacking overall talent on the entire roster. But you know, to have your roster headlined by um, Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers now. That's a good start with Max Crosby as well. That's a really good trio of young players to have leading your team. So they're going to have to build around those guys. They're going to have to have a good offensive line because their offensive line isn't the strongest in the NFL. They don't do either equation, whether it's pass blocking or run blocking, particularly well. And they don't really have a notable guy on that side of the ball. They've spent high draft picks and they haven't worked out. Um, but if they continue to repair that side and get a serious run game going, that can really just take that offense to the next level, even though the passing game might be lacking just with the outside receivers that they put out there.
yeah. You're right about that. What you're saying, but the offensive line, yeah, the offensive line definitely has to be fixed up with the Raiders. It all starts up front. The run blocking, you got open holes for Genty once he gets in the
They're
lineup.
good on the
You know,
outside. I think they could use like some like interior, dogs,
yeah,
like a guy sitting in free agency this past offseason, like that you can go
yeah,
out and get a Mekhi Becton, somebody like that, to really like
yeah,
solidify the interior of your offensive line, so
yeah.
that they can really move people in the run game.
So the Jets are on the clock. So the pick is in by what I see on my end. The Jets are on the clock. Interesting to see what they do. I think they may go with that tight end from Penn State, Tyler
Tyler
Warren.
Warren.
They got Justin Fields at quarterback, so obviously not gonna go with Shador Sanders. I'll be shocked by that. But I think they'll go with the tight end from Penn State. Go to the Jets.
Yeah, and the Jets have had like historically bad tight end production amongst teams in the NFL, so that'd be a smart pick for them. They have a new coach coming in. A lot of people like to tie whatever the new coaching regime and style of that coach that's coming in to what they'll draft. Like Aaron Glenn being the defensive coordinator for the Lions last year, coming in and playing as a defensive back in his playing career for the Jets. They're a lot of people like to say, oh, he's going to go with the defensive side of the ball. I've heard rumors of a guy like Jade Barron possibly going there. I think that would be a little bit too high for that. Maybe edge rusher too, even though they've been drafting edge rushers for how many years in a row, and even trading for them with Hassan Reddick, even though that didn't work out. That could be a potential. Jalen Walker could be the guy right here. But tight end would also not be bad. And I think Tyler Warren would be the guy. I'm also really big on Colston Loveland from Michigan. I love him as a tight end too. But as much as I like him, um, I think Tyler Warren is definitely going to be the first tight end drafted. So
Yeah,
he
I
has a
think
good
Jets
chance of
gonna
going
get this
here.
guy. I think
They
so.
could also go with the tackle as well because there's another team that's been trying to build their offensive line up and hasn't had the most amount of success doing it. They drafted the Penn State offensive lineman last year, Fashanu. If I'm saying his name correctly, he's got a crazy hard name to say, but and they've been drafting edge rushers for all the years past that. So yeah, maybe they go with defense. Like Mason Graham could have been a guy if he fell to them that they could have picked and paired him with Quinnen Williams, and all the other edge rushers that they drafted in the first round the past couple of years, and that would make their defense even more dynamic. But we'll see. They also lost C.J. Mosley who was their interior offensive, their interior, defensive middle linebacker for how many years too. They got Quinn Williams' brother Quincy playing linebacker there, and I think they lost Sherwood in free agency, who filled in for C.J. Mosley as well. So some of these guys, these edge rushers that are available at the top of the board, are tweener guys, hybrid guys that can play off ball and on ball. So maybe they take like a hybrid piece for their defense with a new defensive coach coming in, and a guy like Jalen Walker could be that. But like you said, tight end could really be in play here, and Tyler Warren would probably be that guy. Brees Hall was also made available on the trade block too. A lot of people were talking him up like he was already venturing his way into the top 10 of running backs. I didn't really believe that he was that good, but he's been productive. He didn't have as productive of a season this past season as he did in years past, because I know a lot of fantasy owners weren't too happy with him this year. But um, he's on the trade block. He's a young guy, so if Ashton Genty would have fell, he could have easily been this pick too. So, but the pick is in for the Jets. Armand Membu tackle. So, like I said, they're trying to build up the offensive line, um,
Mhm.
and Armand Membu is that guy. So he's a right tackle though specifically. So they got their left tackle from Penn State last year, and they get their right tackle this year. So this is a guy that wowed people. Him and I feel like the Georgia center, Jared Wilson, really opened people's eyes with their athleticism at the combine. I think this dude ran like a 4.84 at his size, 6'4", 334. So plays on the right side. Get both cornerstones. You got Justin Fields, so it makes sense to get an offensive lineman because he's going to be running around a lot himself. Um, and I mean, the thing about the Jets, I feel like they've just been underachieving. Like they have a good roster, they've just been underachieving, and they haven't really
Yeah,
been able to get the coaching and the voice right in the locker room. So
yeah,
they fired obviously Rob Sala, and Ulbrich was their coach, the interim coach, and it didn't work out too well. And even having a legendary quarterback in Aaron Rodgers didn't work out for them. That was a big whiff, but at the end of the day, they gave up a second round pick for one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So I think every team would justify doing that over and over again, even if the situation didn't clearly work out. So that situation's behind them. They got Garrett Wilson on the outside. They got Brees Hall if he's still on the team. Run the ball. They got Justin Fields. They got potentially a really big run game cooking with both cornerstone tackles on either side. So they got Elijah Vera Tucker, who they traded up for from USC interior wise a couple years back in the first round. So they're building up a nice interior offensive line.
yeah.
Or
This is a
just
good
offensive
pick,
line.
man. It's a very good pick for the Jets because this man, this Mimbo, he ran a 4.91 second 40-yard dash at 332 pounds, so he had some quickness about him. So he had the best broad jump. He tied for the second best performance on the bench for his bench pressing, and he was tied for the fourth best vertical jump. So he's great at the zone heavy scheme that he had at Missouri. He moves well for his size, so he seals the edge very well. So he definitely going to help Brees Hall get the holes, run through the holes that he's going to make for him and other run backs in that backfield. So I was surprised that they went with him because I thought they could go with a tight end and Tyler Warren. So that's going to help somebody else try to get him if they need. Carolina Panthers on the clock. Maybe they go with a tight end, but it's interesting to see
It's
that the
just
Jets did not
interesting to
draft.
see a guy like Tyler Warren fall down the draft boards again with Brock Bowers
Yeah,
falling last year and seeing the impact that Brock Bowers made. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
That's
yeah. He was great last year, Bobs. Yeah, so Carolina got the next pick and the number 8 pick in the draft as we move swiftly with this draft. And like I said, the surprising thing is Shador Sanders continued to slide uh, down this draft. He had pick number 8, so I don't think he's gonna get picked at number 9 or 10. So we'll see what happens. But that's the biggest drama going on right now. Also, to see Tyler Warren not get drafted is surprising. So our fire was going on in this draft, man. Definitely.
I think if we start getting closer to the end of the top 10, which we're getting there with the
Yeah,
Panthers,
yeah.
um, and the Panthers pick is out now. So, but if Tyler Warren keeps sliding down this board, then somebody's going to come up and make a move for him. and that team might
Yeah.
be the Philadelphia Eagles. So
Mm,
if
yeah.
the Eagles, can put Tyler Warren out there with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon
Oh
Barkley,
yes. Yeah.
good luck to the
You got
league.
an explosive
Good luck to
offense.
the league.
Dangerous. Yeah. Man. Yeah. You're right about that. He go
The
to
Giants
the
are
Eagles.
actually interested reportedly in Dallas Goddard, so maybe the Eagles and Giants can make a move at some point
Oh,
during this draft, and you guys can acquire Dallas Goddard. Uh,
yeah.
There's probably some other teams out there that would like to see how the tight end board pans out for this draft, especially with the way it's going right now before they make a move like that. Mark Andrews was also floated around there for the Ravens. The Ravens' actual all-time touchdown leading scorer, Mark Andrews. So everybody remembers him for the drop pass in the playoff game versus the Bills this year. But he's been a really good player in his career. So and he's somebody that they hit big on with a third-round pick.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. With like I said, Carolina Panthers. I think this gonna be, they're a team that they got young quarterback, obviously with Bryce Young. I think he needs more weapons around him. So I wouldn't be shocked if they go with Ty Warren. I think you do need like some weapons around him to improve that
Yeah, I'm pretty
offense.
sure
So
they drafted the South Carolina Jatavion Sanders last year. It was either the second or the third round. Kind of the same
yeah,
situation as the Giants did too with Theo Johnson, where like you draft a guy like that, that's like a second or third round guy that has a lot of talent, but if you have the opportunity to get like the number one guy at the position in a certain draft, then you would justify upgrading that. That's what the Raiders did when the Raiders drafted Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame with the second round pick a few years back, only to draft Brock Bowers the next year with the first round pick. So, um, yeah, uh, I think the Panthers pick is out, so they're going to take a guy that has been rumored to them. This is actually a pick that the Cowboys really wanted to make, and we'll wait till it's announced to talk about it. But this was a guy that the Cowboys were rumored to take, and the Jaguars were rumored to take, but the Jaguars obviously passed and went a different route at the same position. So
yeah. Also, there's another tight end that's available that may be picked. Who knows in the first round? Colston Loveland out of
yeah,
Michigan.
that's the Michigan guy. That's who I'm a
And
big Colston Loveland guy.
yeah, 6'6", 248 pounds.
Yeah, it's interesting. Colston Loveland's comparison for a lot of people is actually Dallas Goddard. So, all right, so we're getting the pick from the Panthers right now. Pat McMillan, a guy that's, some people have questioned how dedicated he is to football. He's somebody that
Yeah,
has openly said there was a video of him a couple years back saying that he doesn't watch film unless it's like kind of like thrown to him and he's like made to watch it by the coaching staff. He doesn't watch it on his own. But it's an old video. You can't judge somebody off of one clip that you see and one thing that they say. Um, Gigantic receiver, has a lot of traits to be a really good player. He had like a dominant game this year where I think he had like 200 yards receiving in college and like four touchdowns. So he can make things happen. Um, like I said, there's been questions about if he brings it on every single play and how dedicated he is, but he's got traits to be a really good player. So we've seen big body receivers like Drake London and guys with that type of frame go early in the draft just because of what they can do. I'm still surprised that like a guy like Ted McMillan goes this high, and
yeah,
I guess you can
yeah.
justify it with the value of receivers, but like a guy like Brian Thomas falls all the way down drafts last year.
Yeah, this is a surprise, man. Again, once again, uh, you got Shador Sanders slipping now. Tyler Warren is kind of slipping because he got the ninth pick with the Saints. I'm surprised by this pick to go with a wide receiver. Also, I see here, according to Adam Schefter, he says that Giants GM Joe Shane says his team is picking up Kayvon Thibodeau's fifth-year contract option. So after
Oh,
drafting
is that
Abdul
just
Torres,
coming in right now?
yeah, I just saw it right here from Adam Schefter. They picking up Kayvon Thibodeau's fifth-year contract option.
Well, that's interesting for the Giants that they would announce that now. So that sounds like it's like corresponding to the news of the draft pick, to where like they're trying to reassure Tavon that he's like good to go. You know what I mean? That we're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
moving
yeah,
on from you, and like reassure him that he has a spot on the team. So we'll see how he responds to it. Um, yeah, we'll just see how he responds to it. That's all I can really say about that. Now, just for something, just tells me, like I guess you could speak on it more, but his like personality traits kind of lead me to the direction where like he's not going to be the most happy about this situation that he's currently in.
yeah. We'll see how he handles the situation with Abdul Carter and like I said, Giants went with defense. Again, like I said, no, the Giants, like I said, the Giants could definitely draft a quarterback in this draft outside of Shador Sanders. There's a lot of good quarterbacks that's in this draft, so I think they're definitely going to draft a quarterback eventually for this draft is over as a whole. So yeah, it's interesting to see the Giants pick up the option for Thibodeau and see what happens with that. Moving forward with Thibodeau. Now the Saints got the pick. Now we'll see what the Saints are going to do. Their team, Derek Carr. Who knows about him? I don't think they're going to go with a quarterback, but they definitely need some weapons on the offensive end. Maybe somebody on defense. We'll see about that. But we getting close to the top 10 because the Bears going to be picking next after them. So I'm interested to see what the Saints and the Bears are going to do to cuckoo the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point because the Saints don't really know what's going on with Derek Carr right now, and I just feel like Derek Carr is, approaching a point in his career where he's just not the most productive guy, and he really hasn't ever gotten past or gotten over the hump of just being like a slightly above average quarterback. It just seems like he plays good football. Remember how much steam there was for the Saints to begin last season with the way that they started with beating down on the
Yeah,
Cowboys, and
yeah,
going 2-0, and then they had
yeah.
that
They
crazy
looking good.
with the Eagles where the Eagles were all banged up and ended up gutting out a victory from a couple Saquon Barkley long touchdowns, and that was the
Yeah,
long Dallas Goddard play that happened, like the 70-yard 3rd and 15 play on a drag route, but they lost all their steam after that and they're just getting old. Like they were a team that competed for so long when they had Drew Brees and they were like
hmm
their championship window and they were a top contender, and then they just kind of fell off compared to the teams that were also competing with them during those time periods. So they need to really replenish. I'm a huge Alvin Kamara guy too, and I love Alvin
yeah,
Kamara, but their roster's just getting aged. Cam Jordan, phenomenal player
yeah,
throughout his career, but he's also getting up there in age. I've
yeah,
heard a lot of talk about them drafting an edge rusher if it's not a quarterback like Jackson Dart, drafting an edge rusher um, to pair with Cam Jordan, get mentored by Cam Jordan for his last couple of years, or if this is his last year, and then ride off to the sunset, and then him be replaced by that. So I think it's going to be one of those situations. I don't know if they expected Shador to be here at this situation, or Jackson Dart, or a team not to jump up in front of them to go get those guys, or a Tyler Warren, which I'm a South Jersey guy, so Jawan Johnson's actually from the neighboring town next to me, the high school next to where I grew up at. So I like him as a player, as a tight end. He was a wide receiver in college, moved to tight end. But I mean, with Tyler Warren on the board, even with them on the contract, um, I still wouldn't be shocked if they did that. But here's the pick here. Kelvin Banks Jr. tackle. So Ryan
hmm
Ramczyk just retired a couple weeks ago, so tackle was always in play here. Armand Membu, Ramczyk was a right tackle, so Membu could have been the pick if he was available, but they drafted the third best tackle available, or the best tackle available, the third best tackle to most people. So, um, yeah, this is a guy that was highly touted too. Went to Texas, obviously played for a big school that was playing a lot of big games, played against a lot of good pass rushers, and has some really good tape out there. So, I know that Miami, you wouldn't have probably fell past Miami if you would have gotten there. So,
Yeah, this is an interesting pick, man. This gentleman played 42 games at left tackle and 3 seasons at Texas. The thing about him, he can fire off the ball. He walls off defenders, generates push in the running game. He's effective in the combo blocking. He's smooth working up to the second level. and he reaches backside defensive tackles and linebackers. So this guy's big. He has huge hands. He's tough to beat once he latches on as a pass blocker. So this guy has definitely great quality traits that's going to make him effective at the offensive lineman position, at the left tackle position. Now we
Trying to
down
see
to
who
number two.
ESPN has rated as the so ESPN right now the highest rated players available left on the board: Jalen Walker number one, Tyler
Yeah,
Warren number two, Colston Loveland number three, Will Johnson number four, Jody Barron number five, Michael Williams six, Derek Harmon number seven, James Pierce eight, Walter Nolan nine, and Maxwell Hairston 10. So
yeah,
this is where the board starts to really even out with guys all kind of being sandwiched into like the same ranking area. Besides,
yeah,
like the guys that are playing a non-premium position, like the safeties, like Malachi Starks, Nick Emanwari, Tyler Warren, and Colson Loveland. And I feel like Will Johnson puts himself in that category too at corner. Um, I feel like, and Jalen Walker as well. Those guys still stand out, but the rest of the group, once those guys get off the board, it's going to start to really even out, and we'll see how many teams stay put or try and trade back for future year picks, thinking that other draft classes could be stronger than what this draft class has to offer at the current moment.
yeah. It's going to be interesting. Number 10 pick is the Chicago Bears. The pick is in. Now we got to see who's going to be the number 10 pick for the Bears. I think the Bears, again, they do have Keenan Allen. They have, weapons, DeAndre Swift. But
They got Cole
I'm
Kmet,
not
but
going with
there's
a
been a
quarterback.
lot of rumors about them going out and taking a tight end, and
Yeah,
like them
tight end.
being
Yeah,
happy, and
that's
like
who they should
either
go to.
tight end they would be happy with. So Tyler Warren
Yeah,
would be a great pick for them.
yeah,
And they
Tyler
got Ben
Warren, definitely.
Johnson, who's the former Lions offensive coordinator who loves skill position players. So I thought they could have met up. We talked about them potentially going up and making a splash for Genty. Obviously, that didn't happen. They had the opportunity to go make that happen because he fell to six and they were sitting at 10 and they had enough time to go make that trade, but they didn't make that trade. And, maybe they saw the board playing out to where one of these tight ends would be there and they're going to have a chance to pick Tyler Warren if they want to. So.
Yeah, the top 10, the number 10 pick should be Tyler Warren. I definitely think Caleb Williams definitely needs a tight end to go to. I think that would be a good pick to conclude the top 10. It's been a very interesting drama filled top 10, with certain picks that have been drafted, certain players slipping, like obviously Shador Sanders is the guy that's slipped the most. But I think that the Chicago Bears should definitely go with Tyler Warren at tight end. Definitely.
Just waiting for the pick to come in here and do
Yeah,
some
yeah.
analysis on it.
Yep. I'm going with Warren. Tyler Warren gotta be the guy. He has to be.
Yeah, I think it has to be. That's
Yeah,
what I would do here. Trying to
yeah,
think. I
absolutely.
mean, their defense, they've done a lot to invest in their defense. They made that trade with Washington a couple years back for Montez Sweat. They drafted or they signed two inside linebackers in the same offseason, and TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds inside. They gave Johnson, Jalen Johnson, a big contract at corner. Um, and they got some other good pieces out there on defense too. So I feel like they need to really build that offense up around Caleb Williams. And they drafted two top 10 skill position guys last year. So we'll see if they do it again.
Yeah.
We're coming up on a stretch of picks here for as an Eagles fan, two of my least favorite teams between the 49ers and Dallas. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see who those teams pick. Here we go. Now we're getting the pick. This is the longest the pick's taken of an
Yeah,
intro they've given all night. Wow, Colson Loveland goes before Tyler Warren. I wanted to bet that
yeah,
too. That was a massive,
yeah.
massive bet.
Interesting, man. That's crazy. But those guys 6'6", 248 pounds, man. So he can run routes very well. He's great with his hands and shakes defenders off, accelerates out of breaks at the top of his routes. So he runs away from coverage on crosses, and it's a big target at 6'6". So again, yeah, they could have went with Warren, but hey, you got another tight end from Michigan that can play, that has size, and he catches the ball in stride, and gets north and south and runs hard after the catch. So that's his quality trait. So he's very effective. He displayed effective speed on tape. He tracks the deep ball well. So he can fight for the ball on the inside, fights to sustain a block as a blocker. So this guy could be really good. But I'm surprised that they went with Loveland. Thought they'd go with Warren. I mean Tyler Warren, yes, but they went with Loveland. So interesting pick. Now top 10 is over with. No Sador Sanders drafted. No Warren drafted. So it gets more interesting as this draft continues to transpire and keeps going. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. Now San Francisco has the pick. The pick is in. See what they're gonna do. Obviously, you got George Kittle. He's not old. No, he's still got a lot left in him to play
And
for the
apparently,
49ers skill position.
contract negotiations with George Kittle haven't been going the best. So
Okay,
this,
okay,
I feel like Will Johnson could easily be the pick here at corner. They
yeah,
lost Javarius Ward in the offseason,
yeah,
so that could be a direction. But a bold pick would be to take Tyler Warren, but that also, that could be justified by them losing Debo Samuel and just wanting to add a piece to their offense that they can use. So
yeah. Kittle, he's 31 years old. He'd be 32 this coming October 9th. So he is getting up there in his early 30s, Kittle. So one shot they go with a tight end for the future and try to build with him with Ty Warren with Brock Purdy. But when you look at Kittle, he is in his early 30s. He's 31 years old. He'll be 32 in October. So I'm gonna be shocked if they go with a tight end. But yeah, they can definitely use a defensive back, a corner, get better corner, maybe a wide receiver, Debo Samuel. So they got
yeah,
a
I'm
lot of
not really
options.
too. I'm not sold on Ricky Pearsall. I'm not. I wasn't the biggest Debo guy. And Brandon Ayuk's had his issues too. They gave him a gigantic contract, and then he obviously tore his ACL, and he just didn't look like the same player even after he got the contract before the injury. So I feel like there's a big question marks at wide receiver. I don't like Juwan Jennings has been good in more of a reserve role and stepped up in big games, but I don't think they can rely on him stepping up in that type of way. So, a weapon here. I mean, Tet's off the board. Maybe they can be intrigued by Matthew Golden's 4.28 speed. Maybe that's enough for them to draft him with the 11th overall pick. But um, yeah, so that was like on top of Travis Hunter being traded up for, which I don't even think that's a stunner just because of how generational his talent is. Like that was a truly stunning pick right there, Colson Loveland, who I'm really high on, and I like both tight ends a lot, but I just never really thought that Colston would go before Tyler Warren.
Yeah, yeah, that's so
That
true,
just
man.
shows you everybody has their flavor of ice cream that they like.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting now. We go out of the top 10. The top 10 is over. See what the 49ers are gonna do. Then the Cowboys got a pick after them. So it was interesting what the 49ers and the Cowboys are gonna do. These two
The
picks.
Cowboys could easily be picking Matthew Golden. They need help at wide receiver. Brandon Cooks moved on in the offseason, went back to New Orleans. Um, and it's just a CD Lamb show, and that's been their issue. Is like CD Lamb goes off in games, but like he's the only dynamic receiver. They've gotten some tight end help from some decent tight end production over the past couple years, but their game's lacking. I think it'd be too high probably to pick Omarion Hampton unless they moved back from this pick, or if they're in love with Travion Henderson and they drafted Zeke, Ohio State running back, very high back in the day. So but I don't think that would be the right pick that high. I think you could move back and get that. So at 12, one thing I will, as an Eagles fan, give Jerry Jones and tip my cap to is he's always been really good at drafting. It's just
Yeah,
been he's had an issue of retaining the guys that he drafts and just like giving the right contracts out at the right time and not waiting to the last second and then having to pay the highest market value and reset the market with the best player. at his position, like how he's waiting with Micah and how he waited with CD and how he waited with Dak. One thing I will say is he's always been good at drafting. So if he wants to add a dynamic guy, maybe he's intrigued by that 4.28 speed with Matthew Golden. Um, I feel like they're pretty set at corner. Will Johnson's an intriguing player that could go to them, but they're pretty set at corner. Will Johnson could be could easily, like I said, be the pick here for the 49ers. So, but I feel like what the 49ers do outside of it, obviously it being the pick in front of Dallas, actually directly impacts them because one, they're rivals with each other and usually see each other in big games, and they kind of need to replenish similar spots of the roster. So what the 49ers do here could really impact what the thinking of what Dallas does for the draft. But at the end of the day, you got to stay true to yourself and make the pick and have plans for any scenario that's about to happen. So,
Yeah,
I mean, if they end up with Tyler Warren, that wouldn't make me that happy as
yeah,
an
they may
Eagles
go
fan.
with him. You never know. They may go with the tight end of the Cowboys. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm shocked that Ty Warren, slipped this far. I thought he'd go with the Jets. I mean, but obviously they about going with needs that suits their team. So they go with an offensive lineman, the Jets. So I'm surprised that up to this point that Ty Warren has not been drafted. And obviously, Shador Sanders has not been drafted. He's continued to slip. So out of the top 10. So this is going to be very interesting where these two players go, Warren and Sanders.
Adam Schefter just said, as you were saying that there's a chance that Shador falls out of the first round entirely. I don't see that happening. I
I
think
think the
that's
Steelers.
I think teams are saying that so that they can try and get him to slip to the fullest like less than the price as much as they
Yeah,
possibly can. I think if he
yeah,
touches down in the 20s, that's when a team comes up somewhere in that
yeah,
vicinity, and a
yeah,
lot of teams will feel pressured by what the Steelers could potentially do at 21 and
yeah.
go and get
That's
him.
right.
And if they believe they'll jump in front of him to go make that and jump in front of the Steelers to make that happen. So.
Yeah, I think he's going to the Steelers, man. If he gonna, I don't think he's gonna slip out of the first round. I'm with you. I don't think he's gonna slip out of the first round, get to the second round.
Like I
That's
said, if
some good
I'm the
news,
Steelers,
man.
I'm
I
not
mean,
like
that's
trying
good
to
news.
justify a trade into the teams and paying a lot and paying multiple first round picks to go up and get Shador. But if he falls into my lap at 21, I think that could be. I would feel decent about that pick, even though I'm not the highest on Shador personally, or I'm not really the highest on a lot of these quarterbacks in general, even Cam
Yeah,
Ward himself. But I just I understand the value, and like if you look at their quarterback room, like they can't go on without adding something to that room that's like a high level talent, so or perceived in that way. Michael Williams to the 49ers at pick 11. Gigantic 6'6" dude from Georgia, a versatile piece on the defensive line. They drafted, I call them the Oregon Twin Towers back in the day with DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead. So this makes a lot of sense for this type of player to go to them. They obviously love the trenches. They need to replenish. They got rid of Javon Hargrave. Their defensive line has gone through a lot of overhaul. They traded for Chase Young a couple years back. He's no longer on the roster. Nick Bosa has really been the only solid guy that they've had. They just lost Javon Kinlaw to Washington as well in free agency. So replenishing the defensive line makes a lot of sense here. And for a guy, it's interesting Jalen Walker's still on the board because I know a lot of people. But this is where I'm starting to get antsy as an Eagles fan to where, like Howie, I feel like he's cooking something up with the Eagles because there's too many good players that are starting to drop on the board to where now it feels like something could be up in the air.
yeah. This is a very good pick very good pick for the 49ers because he's a pass rusher. He's powerful. He's great at setting the edge, defending the run. He makes quick work of the tight ends. He has room to build up his bulk, build up his frame. But he's strong and fights to anchor when getting double teamed. So he's definitely a guy that can definitely be active with his hands. He's ready to get in the inside moves. Also, he's coming from a winning program. He knows how to win national championships. So this guy knows what it takes to be on a winning team. Now he goes to the organization with the 49ers who won 5 Super Bowls. So this guy's bring that winning mentality to the 49ers because he's been coached by Kirby Smart. And they've been so successful winning championships. So I think it's a good pick for us, not on the defensive side of the ball, but for us knowing how to win championships. So he definitely gonna bring that to the table.
Yeah, that's a big skill trait and value to have, especially in like the NIL era. You know what I mean? Where it's like almost devalued. Like you saw the situation that happened with the Tennessee quarterback that was sitting up, like trying to sit out playoff games potentially to get more money. So to have people that actually value winning and have that built into the culture that they have instilled while they get drafted to change the culture with a high level draft pick, then. And this is a team that's has been in the mix in the NFC for a while. What's going on, Dante? This is the co-host
You.
of the Pies on Sports podcast. Along with me, Dante DePlacido. We're back on the stream, right in time for his favorite team to pick,
Yeah,
the Dallas Cowboys.
if they end up taking Shedeur Sanders, that would be really funny.
Tyler Booker. I actually told my best friend, who's a Cowboys fan, that this is who they were going to draft. He has yet to text me, but he said it was the wrong pick.
Oh, picks in. Oh, wow. Yeah, I got it loaded up. Not in
Tyler
time.
Booker. This is a guy that a lot of people think is a specific player to like a scheme where he's just coming right at you, downhill, aggressive strength type of guy, wins with power, needs to kind of tool up. But Tyler Smith, they lost Zach Martin to retirement. They obviously lost Tyron Smith, who was Tyron Smith, who was anchoring the left side of their offensive line for so long. So adding to their offensive line is smart for them.
What's funny is my brother, who's a Cowboys fan, is not happy right now, and he even said, "I heard."
I'm waiting
Tyler
for a text back from my friend because I told him we just went to New Orleans for my friend's bachelor party. Who my friend whose bachelor party it was is also a Cowboys fan, and I told both of them that Tyler Booker was going to be the pick, and they were like, "Nah, he's going to go later in the draft, this, that, the other." But waiting for that response. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, so I'll be right back, guys.
Good evening, Dante. Welcome.
Hey, man. What's up?
Yeah, everything good, man. Very interesting draft, man. No Shedeur Sanders being drafted, no Tyler Warren being drafted. So these two guys are slipping in the draft. I think that's the theme of this draft so far as me, Zach talking about this draft. Those two guys, not being picked. That's the thing that's surprising to me. No Warren, no Sanders being drafted.
I think Warren was kind of projected to go mid first. It's a lot more interesting with Shedeur because now that he hasn't gone yet, there really isn't another team that needs a quarterback selecting until pick 21, and then after that, there's no one until the second round. So Shadeur's in legit trouble here. Warren is going to get selected. I mean, there's no way Warren just it continues to slip the way Shedeur is about to.
Yeah. I think Warren will be drafted. I think the Steelers, I think they gotta go with Sanders. If he stays go to that 21 pick, the 21st pick, I think Steelers gotta go after him because they don't have no quarterback, obviously. No Russell Wilson, who knows about Aaron Rodgers. So the common thing is the Steelers, you see him there, Sanders available, you gotta go with him. So I think he's gonna go to the Steelers.
I think the Steelers should absolutely take him. And then even if you do end up getting Aaron Rodgers, then it doesn't hurt to have Shedeur sit for a year,
Yeah, I think so too. It's a very interesting draft, man. I was surprised by Aston Genty. He going to the Raiders.
He went high up, man. He was I remember when he was projected to go, like mid first round, and now he's found himself all the way up at pick 6 to the Raiders, which I think is going to be interesting.
Yeah, very interesting picks, man. The trade with Cleveland. Jacksonville, Cleveland
team are you a fan of?
I'm a fan of the Giants. Yeah. We drafted Abdul Carter.
Yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah. They went with defense.
I know this is I know this is a Denver media company, and I saw a lot of Denver fans upset that Genty went to their rival, the Raiders.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I
Raiders
feel
was
about
sick.
Carter going to the Giants.
Yeah. I think he's gonna bring a lot of great defense. Obviously Thibodeau, his option is gonna be picked up. I was talking with Zach about that. Adam Schefter said that the Giants gonna pick up the option, the 5th-year option for Thibodeau. So, Thibodeau hopefully he stays, and him and Carr would be a dynamic.
Yeah, Thibodeau and Abdul Carter both on the edge. I mean that there's not a lot that scares me about the Giants, if I'm being honest, but that sounds a bit scary though.
I am
Oh, where'd he
back.
go?
It looks like the Dolphins are on the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, had some typical difficulty. A lot, something happened, some disconnection.
It's probably tough with all of our different Wi-Fi's trying to connect with each other. But I just had another NFC East pick go down, so we're 2 of 4 NFC East picks. The 2 top ones in the top 12 have already happened. With the Cowboys get an interior offensive lineman, like we said, to replenish their offensive line after having 2 Hall of Fame level players in the past couple of years depart from their team. So, that's a solid pick. Some people would say for a one-tool type player, they wouldn't have drafted him that high, but
I'm
they
seeing
identified
here,
that guy.
I'm seeing on Twitter, Tyler Booker was 31st on the consensus big board, the biggest reach so far. I know my brother, who's a Cowboys fan, is not happy. I want to see. I want to see what other
Well, the thing about
Cowboys
Tyler
fans
Booker is,
think.
like I said, he's like a one-tool player. Like he's a come at you with power type guy. So he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he was most likely always going in the top like 20 of the draft. So
Dude, the replies on the Cowboys post on Twitter is hilarious. Someone said every fan should seriously boycott this team. Anyone who buys a ticket to a game next season is a puppet being played by Jerry. And then there's just a lot of people saying, fuck you, fuck out of here, bad choice, really bad choice, fuck you, Jerry. They are not happy, man. I'm loving this. They're not happy.
yeah, I'm trying to check in on the people that I know that root for the Cowboys specifically to see how they're feeling about this.
Oh my god, these Cowboys fans are pissed, dude. Wait, like this. Someone just posted this in the replies. It's just a gun pointed at Jerry
That's
Jones.
crazy work. Wow, I don't want to ruin the next pick, but we have a very interesting pick. Probably the biggest surprise so far.
What are you checking live updates?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
Oh, come on.
I'm trying to see what people that I know who are Cowboys fans are talking about.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I've saw 2 picks ahead already, but they've yet to announce the next pick. But the 13th pick by the Dolphins is very interesting. A guy that I like, a guy that was actually mocked to the Eagles on one of the last mock drafts of the season, and he's obviously not going there now. And he's the second guy from a specific position group from a specific school to get drafted. So I probably
I'm
just
now
gave it away by saying
curious
that.
to see what this pick is. I'm just right now messing with both my brother, who's a Cowboys fan, and one of my boys, who's a Cowboys fan.
All right, so unless it's Jason Taylor's son, it doesn't look like the Eagles are going to be drafting a tight end in the first round. It doesn't
Oh,
look like
well, you ended up spoiling it anyway. I didn't see that yet on my screen.
well, that's not this pick, but yeah.
All right, stop spoiling the picks.
All right, so it's official. Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan, who was mocked to the Eagles at 32 in one of the last mocks, like I said, goes 13. So he's the second Michigan defensive tackle to get drafted. a guy that runs crazy for his size, is a stud. And like I said, Michigan won a national championship a couple years ago.
That's the second Michigan D tackle now, and the third Michigan player off the board so far.
Yeah.
Will Johnson
Very
is still on the
talented team.
board, who I am in love with as a corner. So, as much as the Eagles might not necessarily need a corner on their roster, even though you can make the case that they do, a talent like Will Johnson would be hard to pass up on. I don't think he's going to make it there to 32 by any means, but I would seriously start to consider trading up for one of these guys. But now all the big time names are really starting to fall the dominoes. Jalen Walker is still on the board from Georgia. There was a lot of people talking about him going like 7th overall to the Jets, and he's still sitting there as a versatile linebacker. So that could be a guy that is the next guy traded up for by any team.
Yeah, there's still a lot of good names on the board. I think the biggest name still being on the board right now is Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that clip of Kenneth Grant was crazy. He just ran Penn State running back down 40 yards down the field from behind.
I'm trying to pull up like a draft tracker here. Okay, so I'm pulling up a draft tracker as well as the feed on YouTube TV so I can keep track of everything that's going on.
Jalen Walker's been the best available player on the board for probably like 5 picks now, according to ESPN. Or maybe this isn't updated because.
Yeah, and then Michael Williams, another player from that Georgia defense, went 11th to the 49ers. It's gotten to the point with the Eagles where I kind of find myself rooting for Georgia, and seeing one of their top players go to the 49ers kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, we're talking about right before he hopped on. They drafted the 2 Oregon Twin Towers, I called them back in the day, with Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner. So a guy that's that big as Michael Williams, really fits the profile of the type of player that they love.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when they took him. Oh, okay. I shouldn't be looking at the draft tracker. All right. That was a mistake by me. I know what this next pick is.
Yeah, I accidentally did it, but I'm cutting myself off from now on.
Smart.
But how do you feel about Tyler Warren falling to pick 14? I know you're not a big trade up for a tight end type of guy, but the number 1 tight end on most people's boards. I was talking about it. I'm real salty right now. Colston Loveland to be the first tight end taken, betting odds wise was like plus 2,000. So that just shows you.
Yeah, that came as a shocker to me, dude.
Yeah,
I did not think there was going to be a tight end.
I like Colston Loveland a lot, and he was like ranked there right next to Tyler Warren, but like it was always about Tyler Warren being the unicorn tight end of the draft. So to see Tyler Warren get taken here, I mean, the Colts could have easily found themselves like trying to trade up for him if like a team like the Jets were like rumored to take him, but they ended up not. They sit put and get the best player on the board available. So shout out to the Colts.
And he's going to team up with Anthony Richardson, which I think that's going to be
or Daniel Jones.
Or
no, it could be a quarterback composition, between Richardson and Jones.
Rashad, how do you feel about Rashad? Give us a little insight to how Daniel Jones might fare in the quarterback competition for the Colts.
Yeah, that's going to be. I think it'll be very competitive. I think it's wide open between those 2 guys. So I think that's going to be a very interesting quarterback.
Could that be the dark horse sleeper team that might move up for a quarterback if it falls? Could that be the dark horse team? Could it be the Colts trying to, find a solution to the, just realizing that they completely whiffed on Anthony Richardson and just trying to move on as quickly as possible? Mm-hmm. And, maybe like if they really like Shador and he keeps falling and they can justify getting him at the right price, like, or Jackson Dart even, you never know. So,
yeah, this pick is interesting. Warren, they're surprised that he slipped this low, go down like this, but it's a great pick. He's a great tight end, maybe the best ever to come out of Penn State. They had some great ones like Kyle Brady. He played for Penn State, some big time. I think Mickey Schuler back in the day played with Penn State. So this guy is one of the best, So I think it's a great pick for the Colts.
pulling it
Yeah,
down from the Peyton Manning era. So, yeah, tight end. I mean, tight ends can do so much too. And Shane Steichen did a lot. The coach of the Colts did a lot with Dallas Goedert when he was with the Eagles as the offensive coordinator a couple years back. So he can really draw the best out of tight ends. So
That's a good point. That's something I didn't even consider at first. Yeah. He's definitely going to a system that's familiar with getting the best out of their tight ends. So this
I
is
think they would have
I
drafted
think it's gonna be
Colston
a great
Loveland too.
situation for him.
I think they would have drafted Colston Loveland too if he was available. And Colston Loveland's comp from a lot of people that we are talking about was Dallas Goddard. So obviously that would have been a pairing that could have worked for them too. But
I am now wondering who the Falcons take here.
they need an edge
yeah,
rusher so
interesting.
bad. Their pass rush is one of the worst in the league. They traded for Matthew Judon from the Patriots, trying to get a spark to their pass rush, but they haven't figured it out yet. So um, trying to think
Yeah, they
what
go
other
with
position
Jalen
makes
Wolf.
sense. They drafted 3 skill position players inside the top 10 for the past couple seasons between Penix, Drake London, or 4, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Penix, and Bijan Robinson. So they're probably not going to do a route like that, even though they could use another receiver talent like maybe Matthew Golden. But edge rusher is really what they need to do. Maybe add something to the secondary around AJ Terrell. Um, they have Jesse Bates, who's one of the best safeties in the league. Maybe they double up on that and get another really good safety. They signed Justin Simmons last offseason. That wasn't as impactful as they thought it would be, and he's an older guy that they didn't bring back. So maybe one of the best safeties could intrigue them right now, but edge rushers is probably what they could do. And I feel like Mike Green could be a guy that they're
I
eyeing.
was just gonna say, according to NFL.com, the next best available edge rusher is Mike Green out of Marshall. After that, Shamar Stewart, and then my guy Donovan, whose last name I don't even attempt to pronounce.
Ezaraku.
So what's that?
Ezaraku.
Oh, is that how you say it? I've been wondering this whole time. Ezaraku. Okay.
And you know he's from South Jersey, correct?
Is he?
Yeah, he's from Williamstown.
Oh yeah, that's right. We talked about that on last week's podcast. Yeah. So hopefully they don't take him. Hopefully, if they do go edge, they go Mike Green. I want Ezaraku. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out.
Jalen
You
Walker's
guys on
becoming
Jalen
more and
Walker.
more
Jalen
realistic to the
Walker
Eagles.
may be the next pick. Jalen Walker of the linebacker out of Georgia. He could be
Yeah,
a guy
he's.
that
I think
the
that
Falcons will get.
the size issue for Jalen Walker's going against him being a hybrid type of backer and being only 6'1", 245. But his
Mm-hmm.
skill trait, I mean, if he keeps falling, and the Eagles have a need to where it would be another Georgia guy. Nakobe Dean's got that injury. You don't know exactly when he's going to be coming back. I mean, that could be a very justifiable pick for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I
And
mean, now with Tyler Warren off the board, I'll be upset if they don't go defense. You know, before I like I mentioned, I want them to go defense, but I wouldn't have been upset if they, traded up and gotten Tyler Warren. But now with
yeah, I'm
him
not even
off the
thinking about
board,
an offensive prospect right now. Like they're
yeah,
like, I feel like it'd be a forced issue where they would draft like a developmental offensive lineman, but outside of that, like
I
wide
don't
receiver.
even want that. I want Ezraku or Starks
I mean,
or
Mason Taylor is like probably the only other guy, and I feel a lot of people said that some people are like real high on him compared to how people just like the general public feels about him. Maybe he is that guy, and he's got a lot of tools. He's obviously the son of a Hall of Famer as well, so he's got pedigree to his name. But um, you know how locked in I've been on Nick Emanwari or one of the safeties just in general, Malachi Starks or Emanwari, but specifically Emanwari.
yeah. The one thing I'm thinking here is knowing Howie. We're gonna stay up all night here waiting for the Eagles to make their selection at pick 32, just for him to trade out of the first round by about pick 28.
Yeah, well, I mean that's where it really depends on how the board lays out. Like if you're a team that needs a quarterback, and it just keeps approaching, and Jackson Dart and Shador are still sitting on the board, like that's when the conversations really start to ramp up. So, and like we were talking about before you hopped on the stream, Dante, if I'm like the Eagles or Washington picking at 29 or 32, and the Giants call me in division wanting to trade up for a quarterback, and I know the quarterback that they're trying to target, and I'm that team, and I hold that pick that they want, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't think this guy's going to be that good of a quarterback. I'm like having more incentive to want to help them out to go get that quarterback because that's going to be a guy that I'm facing twice a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if the
Let's
Eagles
see.
are really low on Shador Sanders and the Giants call them like, and he's sitting on the board back of the first round, and they're like, all right, let's make a deal for, and we're gonna go target Shador, and the Eagles are like, all right, well, we think Shador's not going to be good in the NFL, and if you want to go get him, and then we have to play him multiple times a year, we're completely fine with doing that. So.
Yeah, and speaking of Shador, my cousin texted me talking about how he thinks Shador is going to be a bust. He doesn't think he's very good at all. And I said I disagree. So we currently have a bet in place on if Shador will ever win a playoff game as a starter, with the bet being at $10, which I think is kind of funny. So we'll see how that plays out over the next set of years.
Are you in favor of him winning a playoff game, or?
Yeah. So I said to him, I said, so let's say hypothetically Shador calls it a career after 15 years in the NFL, having never won a playoff game. Are you going to hit me up for that $10 15 years from now? He said yes. I said, all right, I'm in then. This is a funny.
I know you
bet.
don't care about $10 like that. It means a lot more, but like it'd be so funny if like he ends up getting traded up for by the Cowboys and they just continue the streak without him, and you lose the bet because he gets drafted by the Cowboys and never wins the playoff.
I would happily lose the bet.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But we set some ground rules on if he ends up. Oh, Jalen Walker to the Falcons. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they went edge rusher. That makes a lot of sense. He's the fourth ranked
Yeah.
guy on ESPN's best available. No, fourth. He's the best available, but he's the fourth overall prospect on ESPN's board, and he was still sitting there. So that's like he's undersized. But remember, like what I could equate that to, I guess, is like Derwin James. Remember, he fell to like 16 to the Chargers back in the day, and like Derwin James was unbelievable at Florida State. I still can't believe Florida State at one point. That team was so good back in the day, and then they kind of just fell off as a team. But like they had Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James in one defensive backfield. That is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, who was their quarterback during those years?
James Winston.
It was Jameis. Okay.
Yeah, James.
Yeah,
Winston,
that's pretty crazy.
Dalvin
That
Cook.
was a stacked roster.
Josh Sweat was on that roster too.
Oh yeah, he did have Sweat. Tell you what, man, Sweat. He ended up. I mean, his career's still going, but he ended up shaping out one hell of a career for himself. And what's funny is, when he went to the Eagles at the time, a guy I thought he was related to, Montez Sweat, was on the Commanders. Much more like a much more known prospect, a guy with a lot more promise than Sweat. Josh Sweat, and Josh Sweat at this point has had a better career, in my opinion, than Montez.
Yeah, but every time that we bring up his name, I just keep like talking about like Philadelphia has the trend of doing it, and I'm all for it. I'm like completely about this algorithm. Josh Sweat was like the number one overall high school recruit coming out of his class. So if you take a risk in the fourth round on a guy that was the best player coming out of his high school recruiting class a couple years later, he's still got some untapped potential probably that you can get out of him. It's just really depends on the player himself to mentally get them out of him. So Josh Sweat's a good player. Arizona's on the board as we speak now. So Jonathan Gannon, former Eagles defensive coordinator, we'll see what he wants to do here. They drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, and he didn't live up to the exact expectations as some of the other wide receivers in the rookie class. Still phenomenal talent. Probably will shape out to be one of the best receivers in the league pretty soon, just with the talent level that he does have. But I feel like they still need to keep adding. Like, even though they drafted a wide receiver in the first round, and if we're talking about any team that doesn't care about doubling up on positions, this is a team that drafted a quarterback with the 10th overall pick one year, only to draft the number one overall quarterback with the first overall pick the next year. So I feel like they could double up on wide receiver, and maybe they're intrigued by the 4.28 speed. I just feel like last year, Matthew Golden, I'm not the highest on Matthew Golden or any of the wide receivers in this class compared to like last year and how good it was. But you saw like the impact that Xavier Worthy was able to make. I just don't understand if teams like see it as like Xavier Worthy is really fast and good, but like he's elevated because he's playing with the best quarterback in the league, one of the best quarterbacks of all time and best players of all time, and Patrick Mahomes. And Matthew Golden's not getting valued the same
Oh, they
way.
just got their pick in rather quickly.
Yeah, they did. Well, I mean, the fastest pick of the night was who was running their pick to the board? I forget who it was. I tweeted it earlier. There's a couple teams that are kind of logged in.
What was your guys' reaction to the Jaguars trading up and getting Travis Hunter?
I mean, it's not really a surprise because when you got a talent like that, it's like someone's going to be just like overwhelmed and like has to go do that. Liam Cohen, the old Bucks offensive coordinator, that's his staple in his statement. There was a lot of rumors that it was going to be Ashton Genty at 5 or Ted McMillan, and a big wide receiver for Trevor Lawrence. But he got a guy that can, he can test out at 2 different positions. This is a team that needs a really marketable player. They play in a market that is an expansion team, so they're not on the level of some of these other big markets around there, even though they're stationed in Florida in a good weather area, and they have a real. The thing about Jacksonville and Tampa, like, remember that Tampa game versus the Eagles this year where they just got beat up, Dante? I obviously know you remember it. In Tampa, it's just so humid on a Sunday in, like, September where it's, like, a significant advantage. So I feel like they have, like, the Florida teams have, like, a significant advantage. Like how you say, like, Lambeau, like, or Chicago, it's, like, the cold weather cities, or Buffalo, or even the Eagles, how they play in cold weather, and the Giants and some of the Northeast teams. But those Florida teams really low-key have an advantage with weather too because they're used to it.
Yeah, especially the Dolphins with the way they've engineered their stadium, which I feel like should not be allowed, by the way.
Like, there was issues with Eagles players this year. Remember Reed Blankenship couldn't even finish the game because he was cramping up and, like, dry heaving and throwing up?
I don't remember that, actually, no.
Yeah, that happened this year.
All right, here we go. Let's see who they're taking.
And Jonathan Gannon does it. He steals every consensus Eagles mock draft player. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss, gets drafted. So,
all right, you're a few seconds ahead of me.
What broadcast are you on? Are you on ESPN or NFL Network, or which one?
I am on. Why the hell am I on ABC?
ABC.
I don't know. I opened
ESPN,
YouTube TV and I just clicked on NFL Draft. I wasn't even paying attention to which stream I was on. I guess because like I don't even hear audio, that I didn't even like pay attention to it. But yeah, let me pull up like the ESPN one.
It's a very interesting pick, man. He had 6.5 sacks last season, 14.5 tackles for loss, so he can get in the backfield, and also he's a great run defender. So it's a good pick for the Cardinals.
This was one of the players that kind of had the biggest range of any first-round pick. There was some people saying he was going to go to the Eagles at 32. There's some people had him at pick 8. There's some people that had him in the mid-teens, which he goes to. There's some people that had him to the Bengals, which is this next pick coming up. Obviously everybody knows how much emphasis is put on the edge rushers and D linemen. I thought he was going to be drafted before Kenneth Grant, but they're different type of players. But I'm getting anxious about the Eagles, if we're being honest, just because I feel like
I'll tell you what, man. With the Eagles, the other than Walker going off the board, the more and more players that get selected, the less and less draft picks there are until the Eagles, and there's still plenty of guys I would like to see them take. So the more draft picks that go by, the better and better I'm feeling.
Dante, I'll throw one name out there and we'll see your reaction. I don't know if I asked you this position. I don't know about this specific player. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State.
I don't want to see them take wide receiver, man. Because I think, like in terms of they were to take a wide receiver and put him in the slot, the Eagles, and we've talked about this at one point on the podcast, maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. The Eagles just don't throw out of the slot. They just don't. I mean, Jahan Dotson is a very talented wide receiver. His best play in an Eagles uniform was with him lined up out wide in the Super Bowl. When he played the final game, he went off. It's like they have a lot of talent in the slot currently, and that should just show you how much they just don't target that position on offense. So to use a
but we talked about this before when we had
I think would be a mistake.
We had this exact combo to where they might be losing Dallas Goedert, so this might be a different outlook and a different way to look at the situation.
But and now that I remember, I think my counter argument was even the tight end position, they didn't really target a whole ton. That isn't if Dallas Goedert ends up leaving. I would love to see them take a receiver in maybe the third or fourth round, a guy that they can probably more so the fourth round, just somebody that they can rely on as like the third or fourth option in case there's an injury or something, just a good depth piece I would like to see later in the draft. But for the first round, I don't want to see them go wide out.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the long-term value that Johnny Wilson or Ainias Smith are going to be.
I don't listen, man. I like the measurables of Johnny Wilson. I really liked him going into the season, but my God, that guy needs to hit the jug machine.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple crucial catches, had that touchdown in the red zone, but I feel like he's a little bit sloppy in his route running. He's still trying to figure out, and he kind of looks like he might have some tight end in his future, but also I don't know how great he'll be in the blocking department. Ainias Smith, he was banged up this year, so I don't know about the assessment on him. He's a little bit slower too, so he might just be like a good roster filler on a cheap contract for a couple of years, but I don't really see him ever stepping up and making the impact. I mean, they have so many. I mean, between the three-headed monster of Saquon, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith, it's hard to get other people the ball just because you're trying to get those three guys the ball as much as you possibly can. And then on top of that, your quarterback has the ability to make plays with his leg, which he utilizes and uses, which is a big part of the offense. So, I mean, there's just limited options to go around. But when we talk about this conversation, it kind of gets redundant because I always bring up Dallas Goedert was actually like the third leading receiver in the entire NFL in the playoffs this year. So he did play a crucial part in the playoff run. So maybe that's a reason why they could look to add another pass catcher just to, solidify things. And AJ and Devontae, AJ specifically has been banged up over the past couple of seasons for a significant period of time, like 3 to 4 games. And Devontae's been a little bit banged up too, so they need some reassurance. And Jahan Dotson just had his fifth-year contract denied, so I mean, I think come down to best player available. I'm not trying to justify the pick by any means, though, but I'm just saying, I'm just trying to look at it as if that for some reason that did happen. Why would that even be like an option for the Eagles?
I think the thing with Jahan Dotson's option getting declined is, I think the way the Eagles front office is looking at it is, we need to see what we can get out of you this upcoming season, and then we'll decide if we want to give you a new contract rather than grant you an extension now. And if it's still not working next year, then we're stuck with you another year.
Yeah, but we talked about with Rashad earlier, right as they announced that Abdul Carter pick, they also announced Kayvon Thibodeau's fifth-year option was being picked up. So it was kind of like a reassurance type thing. The Giants were trying to reassure him and try and build like a pass rushing rotation and try and, ease into the situation of them drafting another high edge rusher to potentially replace him. more so the situation that like this could be like a
Oh, this is going to be a dynamic duo over there in New York.
well, I mean, Brian Burns is, going to be in front of Kayvon, and then it's Brian Burns, Abdul, and then Kayvon, I think, third fiddle. That's how I see it. So
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, either
Lamar
way,
Stewart,
they got a good set of pass rushers now.
and like me and Rashad talked about, like getting Brian Burns in the first place kind of showed that they didn't have the most confidence in Kayvon for trying to go out and get a guy like that to when they already drafted Kayvon with such a high pick. So another edge rusher goes off the board to the Bengals, Shamar Stewart. The Bengals a team where if they can get some sort of defensive talent on that side of the ball, they'll probably be able to win a couple playoff games or maybe make it back to a Super Bowl with how explosive their offense is. Joe Burrow had that crazy stretch of games. I think it was like 7 games last year of like 250 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, which was an NFL record. So, I mean, yeah, the Bengals, obviously, their offense is so potent, and they draft a edge rusher to fix their defense a little bit. I think they would have been more preferably good to go interior, like a Walter Nolan who just got picked in front of him to replace some of the defensive line talent that they lost. But
I
this is a good start.
think the Bengals just need defensive help anywhere they can get
And
it.
you can't trade. You have to dig your feet in. You can't trade Trey Hendrickson, and especially if it's like for like a second or third round pick, you can't do that. Like if you want to trade Trey Hendrickson right now to jump back into the first round with the team and draft another edge rusher, do it. But you can't get rid of Trey Hendrickson for a deal for the team that's trading for him and lose that type of talent to your defense that's already lacking. And I don't even know how big of an impact Trey Hendrickson makes when he has 17 and a half sacks and your defense is still that bad. But he's definitely a great player.
This would have been with as much as a halfway decent defense, this would have been one hell of a Bengals team this past season. You know, it's one of those situations that you see in the NFL from time to time where it's just an elite offense and a crappy defense leading to a mediocre team. I used to see it in the past a lot with the Falcons. Up until they were able to revamp their defense that one draft.
They could really use a running back, the Bengals, but like you could not justify taking anything other than defense with the amount of money you just spent on offense with those 2 receivers. Like you just can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's a good pick by them, but that is one more edge rusher off the board. Now, according to the big board here, there's only one more edge rusher standing before Ezraku. So that
your boy is about to go. You should kiss the coffin goodbye now because that's your dreams are about to be put to bed unless.
Will we stop with the spoilers?
No, I'm not. No, that's a. I'm not reading.
Oh, it's a prediction. Okay,
yeah.
I was gonna say, man.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying that based off of like the edge rushers all going right now in order.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely nervous at this point. But like I said, there's still a lot of other guys I would like to see the Eagles take. You know, I'd still be happy with Starks. I'd still be happy with a couple other safeties that are out there. So I'm not too upset if we can't get him. But I would like him.
There's a versatile defensive back piece from Texas still on the board, Jody Barron, who's a cornerback that could play also other defensive back spots in nickel too. There was rumors that he could go to the Jets at 7, which I never believed that could be the case. And him and Will Johnson are still sitting on the board right now. So that's an interesting thing. This is starting to charter into the territory of like how he's seeing how the board's going, and I believe that he's like seriously considering actually staying put or not moving up drastically high, and just like kind of calculating how the board's going right now, but like seeing it as in like if he stays put, he's going to be able to get one of the players that he wants to target all along. So the safeties have yet to go. We haven't seen any tug or bite on the safeties yet.
Yeah, and so far Travis Hunter is the only corner to come off the board. So we have yet to see a true corner, essentially.
The 2 highest rated players left on ESPN's board or our corners. So That could be.
I'm seeing Will. Well, I'm looking at NFL.com. I'm seeing Will Johnson and Mike Green are the two highest still available.
Greg Zabel, small school, interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Us Eagles fans know all about North Dakota State players.
Yeah.
And they get consistently drafted in the first round or high in the draft of any 1AA school. So obviously that program was very successful. One of the most successful 1AA programs in recent memory. And they're pumping out NFL quality talent.
Yeah, they've been doing so for quite a while now. I mean, up until all the Carson Wentz hype, I had never really even heard much of NDSU, and I feel like we've definitely seen a good deal of talent come out of there ever since. One guy who I actually wanted the Eagles to take to be a backup, but was taken one
Easton
spot
Stick.
before us was Easton Stick. I vaguely remember us talking about this on the podcast, but I always felt like the Eagles then with that pick right after were like, screw it, we'll still take a quarterback, and that's what led them to take what is his name? I'm blanking on it right now.
I'm looking it up right now because I knew you were going that direction. TCU quarterback. I forget his name.
Yeah, TCU. His name is eluding me at the moment. He was not good. I can't think of his name. Wow, I'm completely blanking. I can picture his face. His stupid face.
Max Duggan?
Nah, it wasn't Max Duggan, but
He I think he played 2 preseasons with us, and he looked awful in each one. Oh my god, his name is on the tip of my tongue.
Trayvon Boykin?
no, it wasn't true.
No. What draft was this? This was
Like 2018 or something.
This was 2019. The pick right after Easton Stick. Give me 1 second.
Clayton Thorson.
That's it. Oh my god, he was so bad.
Carson Strong was like dominating my brain. I couldn't even think anything other than
Clayton Thorson was so cheeks. And you know what? I'm glad we've actually found a legit late round quarterback to be a very solid backup in Tanner McKee nowadays.
I wouldn't be opposed and wouldn't rule it out that the Eagles draft a quarterback in this draft.
As long as it's like a late round QB again, I wouldn't mind it. I don't want to see them get somebody early enough that would immediately take over as QB2. I really want to see Tanner McKee take over that role. Like fifth round, I wouldn't mind a QB. We have like 4 or 5 fifth-round picks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, if a fifth-round quarterback's even making the roster. I think people are kind of putting a little.
Well, McKee was round 6, man.
What'd you say?
McKee was round 6 2 years ago.
I still got to see more out of Tanner McKee, but I mean,
listen, we haven't seen. Listen, from what we've seen from him, we've seen 2 preseasons. We've seen him take over in the second half, and we've seen a full NFL start from him, and he's looked good in all 4 of those examples. So I mean, it's not like you're going to see a ton out of a third string quarterback, but what we've been able to see out of him, I mean, he's looked good, he's looked quick, he's looked decisive, he's looked on point. I have a lot of faith in him.
The issue is for me, it's just like the Eagles are such a talented team, but there is times where they need to claw back into a game and they put themselves in deficits. Like um, sometimes from turnover, sometimes from bad tackling, sometimes from just different situations. So if their offense isn't clicking for a day and they need to really get it out the mud in like a second half and he's put into that situation, it's going to be a tough scenario for him to, that's a tough scenario for anybody. But I just don't see him as like doing anything spectacular to be able to elevate.
He's a listen for a backup quarterback. You don't need him to be spectacular. You need him to be capable of getting the
I'm a
job.
big advocate for having a backup quarterback that fits the profile of your starting quarterback, so you don't have to
I
change.
get that, but McKee looks good, man. I'm
I'm
telling
not
you.
I'm not saying like Jalen Milrow, but like, and I'm not just saying because I'm a Notre Dame guy, because I'm not the biggest Riley Leonard guy by any stretch of the imagination, but Riley Leonard might actually be a guy that they look into with like a running type profile that's tough and just a good person and a good leader. That could be somebody that they would target later on with the 5th round pick.
Let me see. Let me look at the big
But
board
there's a
of
better
QBs
chance
to
that they
see.
actually draft a quarterback probably with a 5th round pick because they have Tanner McKay. So like the quality of guy that they can get a guy that could be the third string guy and develop and sit back and watch things instead of a
Yeah,
guy
that's
that.
the thing with having a backup QB that you're very confident in. You then do have and a ton of 5th round picks. You then do have the liberty to take somebody who's uber athletic, who can be sort of mimic of the starting QB that it's going to be a project and you're going to take a risk on it. You do have the liberty to do such. Actually, I'm looking at a name right here that I forgot about. I don't know if he'll fall that far, but Dylan Gabriel. If he can fall to the 5th round, I would not
I don't
hate
want a
that.
left-handed quarterback, and I don't really like Dylan Gabriel that much either. He's also really small, so it's tough.
Speaking of North Dakota State, Cam Miller is a guy who's projected to get drafted at some point. That'd be interesting to add to draft another.
I didn't want
North
to
Dakota
ruin the
State
pick early,
quarterback.
but a scenario we talked about has now been crossed off the board, Dante, with Emeka Egbuka going to the Buccaneers. So they
Oh
get
yeah, I'm seeing that now. I was
Mike
looking at the
Evans, they
draft
get Chris
board.
Godwin re-upped, and then they draft Emeka Egbuka. He looks fired up too. So the Bucks are it's such a sneaky team. Like that might be a really good pick for them. That's actually going to really open up their offense. They have a three-headed running back monster with Rashad White, Sean Tucker, and Bucky Irving, and they got a crazy discount on Bucky Irving's draft price
Oh, that
last
was a
year.
nice catch in that
Sleeper.
highlight. Yeah, I mean, listen, with Baker Mayfield kind of finding himself again in Tampa Bay, and them already having a loaded offense, and now add Mika. Yeah, look out for this offense next year, man.
A big
It
time
seems like
pick,
a move where
to go with
they're a team that's sneaky. They add another weapon to their offense, and when they're fully healthy, they're going to be a really tough team to match up with. You already saw the Eagles' season turned around after the Bucks game, but that Bucks game, the Eagles' defense was still getting exploited and not being able to tackle people in space.
What were you saying,
Emeka.
Rashad?
Yeah, I'm saying Emeka Ibuka, that's a big time pick because you look at Mike Evans on the outside, that's gonna bolster up their wide receiving core. So I think it's a good pick with Baker Mayfield. He has another weapon to go with Mike Evans, and obviously you got the rookie. So I think it's a great pick.
And this was
Yeah,
their guy because they drafted he's the second wide receiver off the board. That's like a true wide receiver besides Ted McMillan, like outside of Travis. So they drafted him in front of Matthew Golden.
that is
Mike Evans, I guess it makes sense.
that's a nice he's got one.
They have older guys that can still perform in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and they're still high level players. But I mean, this helps replenish and re up that position. And then you see how quickly things can change. Where Seattle drafts Jackson Smith and Jigba with Tyler Lockett and DK there, and now Jackson Smith and Jigba is the only receiver left in Seattle. So. And they obviously got Cooper Kupp, but just like what was on the roster when he got drafted to what it could turn into down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely always smart to think about the future, even while the present is still there. In
So by
Eagles,
saying that, you're saying that the Eagles should draft a quarterback?
no, no, we still got many years left of
This is an
Super Bowl
interesting pick
MVP
too.
Jalen Hurts. I was going to say no. An Eagles example, however, would be drafting Dallas Goddard while Zach Ertz was still in his prime, and that ended up shaping out pretty well.
Could be history 2.0 tonight if they go with another tight end to take over for
Tell
Dallas.
you what,
Also
think about
consider
like
the
this,
scenario
right?
that the Eagles draft a tight end and don't immediately move on from Dallas Goddard and then play out the last year of his contract and then move on from him and keep Dallas Goddard with this tight end. And then imagine how good that offense is with first round talent tight end with Dallas Goddard, both of those guys, and then the receivers that they have with Saquon Barkley. I mean,
Well,
we're
that's
talking.
kind of what we thought heading into 2018. But well, although obviously the wide receiver talent wasn't as good. Although Nelly and Alshon both continue to have good seasons in 2018. But what I was going to say is, even though Goddard didn't make like a huge impact in terms of production this past season, I wonder how differently things would have looked had Dallas Goddard not saved our asses in that game against the Saints. If he doesn't make that huge catch to set them up to win it, and
Yeah,
then
I
you're
referenced that catch
you're
earlier.
looking at a 1-2 record to start the season, everyone hitting the panic button. Things could have shaped up a lot differently from then on had it not been for that huge play from Goddard.
And that's when they were banged up too, with tackle issues, wide receiver issues. So there was a bunch of different issues going on with the Eagles that day, but Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goddard saved them.
Yeah, and that's really all it was on offense the whole day was just those two big plays.
This
Denver
next pick,
still hasn't gotten
this
their
next
pick
pick
in
is
yet.
very interesting because Denver was one of the only teams actually favorited to draft a running back as the position that they would take over every other position. So Omarion Hampton from North Carolina is sitting there, and Travion Henderson from Ohio State are sitting there. You've already seen some shocks with position groups. So the second guy drafted in multiple, especially the skill position group guys with wide receiver, tight end, and some of those other positions. So defensive tackle. So maybe they go running back here. They got Evan Ingram from Jacksonville in the offseason. They could use some wide receiver talent too. So Matthew Golden could easily be the pick here as well. Sean Payton, an offensive wizard. Um, there was a lot of smoke that he would trade up in with this, but I feel like all that smoke with Sean Payton trading up, like, are you letting that guy make another massive like trade up move when the Russell Wilson thing didn't work out? You know what I mean? I feel like I don't know if I would give him that much leash to be able to do that, even though it's Sean Payton. So it makes sense that they're stayed put and picking at 20. There's some really good corners left on the board. If they pair Patrick Surtain up with Will Johnson, that's a crazy cornerback duo. That's a crazy cornerback duo. That's a cornerback duo.
This is Elevation 5280 Sports. So this is, for any Denver fans watching the stream, this is a big pick right now for the hometown Broncos.
It is a big pick. I wonder what Mike's thinking. Mike's actually covering the Denver Nuggets game, he said tonight, so that game just kicked off. So he's actually dealing with the first quarter of the Nuggets-Clippers game along with this pick right now as well. So
yeah, let's see.
20 is a tough spot too because like you don't know how the board's going to shape out, and you're really just like trying to be patient to not overpay to jump all the way up like they were rumored to, but you really don't know what's going to happen. The Steelers behind you could hold a lot of cards, and dominoes could fall with what they do if they draft a quarterback. So
this is one dapper Make-A-Wish kid. This guy is dressed to the nines. Look at him.
He's locked in.
Yeah, I feel like usually they come out in like a t-shirt and jeans. This guy's got a nice suit on.
Good for him.
He could work on that knot, but that's just me being picky as a guy who likes to put on suits. Looks like he's got a nice watch on too. Can't really see it that well.
We analyzing the players here? Or are we analyzing the people calling the picks?
The guy calling the pick right now, yeah.
That's your expertise you're bringing to the table. Your color commentary.
Oh, so they do go corner.
Yeah, Jahdae Barron of Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Will Johnson. I need Darius Slay.
I'm surprised Will's still available, but still they do go corner and they pair up Barron with Surtain. So that who knows how
All right, Dante, we have one more opportunity right now. I just realized we have one more opportunity. So Colson Loveland is off the board. Kenneth Grant's off the board. Mason Graham's off the board. My prediction on yesterday's Eyes on Sports podcast episode 95 was that the Eagles would draft one of those Michigan players. So we have one more opportunity of the four rumored projected for Michigan first round picks, and there's only one of those guys left available, and it's actually a guy that I thought was probably going to go second.
Well, I'll tell you what, as a Michigan fan myself, I would not hate to see us.
You might be one of the
least
least qualified Michigan fans. You're an out of spite Michigan fan that, tries to post. I find out you're a Michigan fan from like a petty Instagram story, and I'm like asking you, like, you never even have mentioned Michigan. Like, everybody that hears me talk sports and talks football knows that I love Notre Dame. Like, that's like a known thing. But for you, like, you're just in the bushes with Michigan, and you're not even a true Michigan.
I have such a good reason to be a Michigan fan, And it's out of spite. So Rashad,
if you were trying to be like as petty as you possibly could be, you would be an Ohio State fan if you're trying to.
Here's the thing. I thought about either Ohio State or Michigan. So Rashad, just to fill you in, I have a brother who's a Cowboys fan. He's also a diehard Penn State fan, and he's very obnoxious about both teams. So, being that he's a guy who born and raised in Philly, instead he roots for the Cowboys. But then at the same time, he roots for his more so hometown Penn State Nittany Lions. Out of spite, I've decided to basically do what he's doing in the NFL forefront of things and root for one of his rivals. I thought about either Ohio State or Michigan, but then I thought which team just won the national championship, this being, after Michigan won, and I went with Michigan. So now I'm a Michigan fan out of spite.
Yeah, fraudulent behavior to me. Fraudulent.
It's not fraudulent.
Do you have a college team?
Fraudulent behavior is to grow up in Philly and root for the Cowboys. So if I'm rooting for Michigan out of spite of that, then it's valid. And I've had Penn State fans themselves, or Penn State and Eagles fans, agree with me in rooting for Michigan in that sense.
I don't think your fandom's valid, in my opinion. Rashad, do you have a college team?
Oh, I like the Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, so like Cam was, you were locked in when Cam got picked today. How do you feel about the tight end, Elijah Aurora? Do you think?
Oh yeah, he's really good.
I don't know if he's going to go first round the way that it's like the 20s are playing out or look like they're about to play out, but.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a better chance Mason Taylor from LSU goes in front of him, but he could be a very quick guy picked up in the beginning of the second round.
Let's see if the Steelers take Shedeur here. Might be Shedor's last chance to go first round.
I don't want to be a spoiler, but I love how, the best.
Well, then don't. Then don't.
I'm not going to. But the best in the business, the guys that always give out information, always know how to make the best, most suspenseful headline.
And they go Derek Harmon out of Oregon. Wow.
Adam Schefter tweeted it. No other way it's been tweeted tonight for a draft pick that's been announced by Adam Schefter, but he tweets it. Steelers pass on Shedeur, so like when you read it and you're not reading every single word, when you read it quickly, you see Steelers and Shedor's name next to each other.
It's kind of funny.
Maybe the Giants got a chance to draft because they got the
I
34th
was
pick.
just about to bring that up, Rashad. I'm
Yeah.
saying now we're reaching the territory of,
Oh
as a Giants
yeah.
fan, how are we starting to feel about the
Yep,
situation
they
that's
may get
playing
him.
out in your hands? You not only have a choice at Shador at a discounted price of a move up because you're only 11 picks away from picking, or 12 picks away from picking with that early second round pick, but you also have a chance to get Jackson Dart if that's the guy that you want. And I've heard a lot
Yeah.
of rumors that Jackson Dart's more of the profile type of guy that you guys would like at quarterback than Shador Sanders. So
Yeah, if the Giants finish the first two rounds with Abdul Carter and Shador Sanders, that's a hell of a haul.
I feel like can Jim Harbaugh pass on um, his former college player in Will Johnson here that he won a national championship with, and they've just lost Asante Samuel Jr. in free agency, who is still somehow sitting in free agency without being signed.
These are very good points you bring up. Yeah, I now that you bring that up, I would almost put money on LA to take Will Johnson here. And this is after you've warmed me up to the idea of taking Will Johnson. But if they do take him, that just means Starks and Ezraku are still on the board with
Nick
now even
Evenwari,
fewer
man.
picks until the Eagles.
Nick Evenwari. I'll be ecstatic if the Eagles end up with Nick Evenwari today.
I'm already curious as to who Green Bay might take with the following pick.
They need talent at wide receiver, like a true one, like not like these like bunch of like number two wide receivers all trying to do the job. Like they need like a true number one guy, in my opinion. They could also be looking at corner too, because Jair Alexander, that situation's not pleasant at the moment. They're trying to get the most out of that Xavier McKinney signing, so maybe even a safety to pair with Xavier McKinney to make it the best safety duo in the league.
Trying to see right now. FCoreNFL.com, the best available wide receivers are Luther Burden out of Missouri and Matthew Golden out of Texas.
All right, so I'm a big guy on this. Like I'm just real particular. Malachi Starks, 21 years old, turns 22 on November 13th. So he was born November 13th, 2003. So he's 21 right now. Will turn 22 during the season. Nick Emanwari doesn't turn 22 until literally the Super Bowl time next year, February 7th. So both of those safety prospects for the Eagles will be 21 years old pretty much throughout the rookie season, as opposed
Yeah,
to like prospects
that's
being
some good
older.
young talent there.
That's just like not even common anymore, though. It's crazy that we've like the NIL just like changed like 22 is like the flat rate. You know what I mean? Like why in comparison to like the NBA, it's so crazy seeing like a guy going into his fifth year in the NBA and he's 23 years old, as opposed to like a guy in the NFL getting drafted at the age of 23.
Yeah, and depending on the position, oftentimes NBA players play much deeper into their 30s.
Oh, 100%.
Also, don't be surprised they draft Matthew Golden, wide receiver from Texas, the Chargers. They do need a wide receiver.
Yeah, they could use some wide receiver help. They got Lab McConkey at a nice price last year in the second round. They have a reunion, a low key signing with Mike Williams coming back to them that they spent the seventh overall pick back in the day on, but he moved to a couple teams and then came back to them on a 1 year deal. They drafted Quentin Johnson, who I'd never really been that high on in the first round a couple years back. Had a lot of touchdowns last year, but overall production hasn't lived up to where they drafted him at in the first round. So wide receiver, tight end. I mean, one of these mission I something just keeps telling me that like he's gonna like start capitalizing on these Michigan guys that he's coached. And I feel like I could also see Travion Henderson here at running back. I feel like running back can help that offense out a lot too. A running back would really help them. So But the more that Will Johnson just keeps slipping onto the board, like I just want Howie to just go up and just go get him.
By the way, Knicks won 118.
All right, so what? There's like 10. There's like 10 picks left, and Will Johnson, Eamon Maury, and Starks are on the board. So the Eagles have a pretty good shot at maybe landing one of those three defensive back prospects between Starks, Maury, and Will Johnson.
Or at least Azaraku as
or
well.
Maxwell Hairston, too, the other corner that's a big corner from Kentucky that ran the 4.28. So he's also going to be there and somebody that they could have interest in. Your boy Donovan could get picked right here, too. Edge rusher that just got rid of Nick Bosa.
No, don't even.
Joey Bosa, I mean.
After
having him on the roster forever. Khalil Mack departed. Khalil Mack came back, but Khalil Mack's obviously on that
into existence. And don't you dare spoil this pick either.
What did you say about the Knicks, though?
Oh, they won 118 to 116 against the Pistons in game 3.
Okay, so it was a close game. That series has been really good so far. It's been so much to joggle. I'm actually
Tobias, dude. Tobias put up 5 points. There's the Tobias we know and love.
I'm actually real happy that this night has finally came. I feel like it's been going by pretty fast, even though we've been live for 2.5 hours so far. But it's been going by pretty fast. But there's been so much sports to try and keep up with between baseball, NBA playoffs, and the draft coverage. It's been overwhelming. So
Shedeur, he's kind of starting to remind me of Will Levis now. How Will Levis kept on slipping and eventually didn't go until the second round while his girlfriend looked very unsatisfied the whole time.
Without even teams trading up right now, it's rare because the teams that are picking back here from everybody having their stock pick are all teams that, were successful last season. But let's look at – I'm trying to get my computer to scroll here.
I am surprised we've only had one trade so far.
Yeah, only one trade. But just outside of trades, of the teams that are actually picking in their spot, if I'm looking down the line, the only team that I could see actually drafting a quarterback is literally the Rams. Chargers aren't drafting when they got Justin Herbert. Packers, Jordan Love. J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings after that. You got C.J. Stroud, pick 25 with the Texans. The Rams at 26.
Yeah.
That's probably the only pick. The Ravens at 27.
Stafford's getting older. No,
Lions at 28. Probably not with Jared Goff unless they really truly.
Definitely not 29, 30, 31, and 32.
Definitely not 30 through 32 between.
Yeah.
Josh Allen,
29 through 32, definitely not.
So.
Obviously with the Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts, none of those teams are.
It would be crazy if the Lions were that team. I feel like the Lions are actually the second most likely.
I don't hate the idea of the Rams going QB,
they're by far the most likely out of those teams to draft.
Yeah, let Shedeur just sit for a year and learn the offense. Packers, who are on the clock, obviously not a team either that's going to want a quarterback. Taking a while to announce this Chargers pick.
The pick is in. By what I see for the Chargers.
Yeah, I feel like it's said that for a while now. I'm just looking at Louis Riddick talking about whatever. They're celebrating something. There we go.
There it is.
Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't see it yet. Oh, Mario Hampton.
And you ruined
running
it.
back.
What do you mean? And I ruined it?
You said, wait, and then you ended up saying it before it got announced.
No, I said when you said and there it is, I thought it was announced on your
Because I
screen.
saw it pop up on my phone, and then I didn't say it on purpose, and then you ended up saying
Oh,
it.
well, no, I said it as it happened on my screen.
But I was, talking about a running back helping that offense. So,
Yeah, that's a good pick by them.
Will Johnson made a lot of sense. I don't know what people are seeing in this Will Johnson slide, but it's crazy, crazy work. My
You
friend
know
who's
what's
a Cowboys
funny?
fan has still yet to respond to me for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
What's funny is I almost brought up on the podcast last night. I was almost going to bring up the fact that it seems like every year there ends up being a player that the Eagles want that just for some reason falls all the way down to them. I feel like it happens quite often. You know, it happened with N'Kobe Dean. It happened with Quinyon Mitchell. It kind of happened with Jeremiah Trotter. I feel like there's a couple other examples that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But it seems like it happens quite often. It would be really funny to see if it happens with Will Johnson. But anyway, I'm gonna pop out for a sec. I'll be back in about 5.
Alrighty. Maybe something crazy goes down while you're going.
I'll have it up on my phone.
Try to see what the Packers do, man, with this pick. Obviously, they the home. No, that's it's at Lambeau Field the draft. So obviously, got a lot of Packers fans there. Obviously, they ready to see who gonna be going to the Packers. So this gonna be an interesting pick right here with number 23.
For sure, I agree with that. And with the Packers, like I said, they have a high level player in Jair Alexander, is one of the best players out of his position in the league. But the relationship seems like it's a little bit strained. So maybe they go out and capitalize on this Will Johnson talent. Seems like I'm being real repetitive, keep bringing up his name, but I mean, this is a guy that's been sitting as the best player on the board for quite some time now. So I feel like the team's going to be able to get a pretty nice, decent steal here.
Yeah, Will Johnson. Yeah, he's the best available player according to ESPN. He's the number one best player. Will Johnson out of Michigan.
It's been
So
like
maybe
that
they go
too.
with him.
We're talking about it's been like that since probably like pick 12. Like he's been
Yeah.
the best available player on the board. So I'm gonna go grab. I'm gonna see if I can grab my charger real quick.
Okay. Now we got the number 23 pick coming up with the Green Bay Packers. Those listening to this to the E5280 Sports Lifestyles Live NFL Draft Show with Dante and Zach. I'm Rashad Mitchell. I have a show called Inside Sports with Rashad Mitchell. So we all have shows on this platform. So it's great to be on this platform. I never did this before, so looking forward to continue on with this draft. We got about 9 more picks left after pick number 23. So we got like 9 more picks to go. That'd be it for the first round. So it's been a very interesting first round. Not that many trades. No, Shador Sands continued to slide. I'm very shocked that Sands didn't go to the Steelers, man. The Steelers went with Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. Derek Harmon. So may slip out of the first round, man. Maybe the Giants got a shot, but the Cleveland Browns got the 33rd pick. So they may go with no Sanders at the 33rd pick and to go into the second round. So we'll see what happens in the second round. That'll be tomorrow because it's the first round is only for tonight. So we got the second and third round tomorrow and then the fourth and the seventh round on Saturday. So that's the narrative with that.
Rashad, do you feel like you would want to, as a Giants fan, move in front of the Browns because you would suspect that they could really target Shador with that 33rd pick?
Absolutely. I think that's where the Giants definitely got to know strike in and get that the quarterback, get the
And you
quarterback.
have a lot of quarterback security at picks 30 through 32 between those
Yeah.
teams with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts, to where those teams would be willing to trade with you if their player's not there because they're not obviously drafting a quarterback, so they're not going to feel threatened.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see Giants getting Sanders. Yes, definitely. So I don't see nobody else in the first round going after Sanders. So I think the Giants are in great position to try to get him. Yeah. I gotta see tomorrow what happens with that tomorrow at 7 o'clock around that time. So we'll see.
All right, so the pick is in.
Yep. Yep.
Also, the draft is being held in Green Bay, so they burned down the entire clock. They were holding draft discussions with other teams apparently, but they're going to stay
Yeah.
put and take their pick. And obviously, this crowd's about to go nuts with the reaction. I saw who the player is, but I obviously won't announce it. We'll talk about it when it happens and becomes official. Will Johnson's apparently falling because of a knee injury in his medicals, so that's the reason why he's slipping. But, I mean, as you start to get deeper into these teams that might have the leniency later in the draft in the first round to take on a player that might not be ready to go right away, but could really help them down the line if he gets completely healthy. That's the territory that is starting to be approached. So, all right, here we go. Green Bay is about to announce the pick in front of their home crowd. This is going to be the longest announcement of the night. I can feel it. It's already long enough.
Oh, pick is in. I didn't miss anything. I saw a Browns fan on Twitter, YouTuber Sir Yacht, tweeted a literal layup in drafting Travis Hunter, gift wrapped a generational talent. The Browns cannot mess this up. And they
Got
did.
Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden, 4.28 comes off the board speed-wise. Like I said, they finally needed to go get a true guy that might be seen as the number one target. I don't know if Matthew Golden is that guy. He emerged as that guy at Texas after Isaiah Bond was seen as that guy before, and then he emerged as actually that guy very fast. We'll see if he can be a number one wide receiver, but they keep adding to their skill positions. So they got a good collection of receivers out there. We'll see if one can emerge as the guy, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of called it by saying they needed to get a number one guy, Matthew Golden being a guy with a question mark if he'll be a number one guy, but they've drafted a wide receiver that they feel can do that at the very least. Oh, also, while I was on my phone, I saw Jimmy Butler is most likely out for game 3 with a deep glute muscle contusion, an injury I've never heard of.
Did you see the fall he took?
No, I didn't actually.
It was. It is not something you want to wake up and start your day with. I'll tell you that.
Now I gotta look this up.
He was sideways in the air, like 5 feet off the ground, with Draymond Green and Eamon Thomas bearing down on him, and they collapsed into him, and then pretty much Draymond threw Thompson into him and injured Jimmy Butler.
Oh wait, that's not the video. I'm just seeing a still shot of him in the air, but not the
Nick
video.
Imawari is the 4th-ranked player on the board.
Oh, here it
Mike
is.
Green's falling pretty far too. He's got some off-the-field issues with certain stuff that we'll probably not mention on the podcast. But if anybody's been following the draft process with Mike Green, you know about the things that he's been accused of. So that's probably a reason why that he's fallen down the draft as far as he's falling. At a player that was very productive at a premium position. So James Pierce as well.
Oh yeah, that looks rough. All right, the pick is in for Minnesota. Anytime I say Minnesota, I just think of the clip of Joe Biden. Minnesota.
Ian Rappaport just now. Howie Roseman is working the phones trying to trade up.
Oh wow. Okay.
Several top players still available. It's got Will Johnson.
That could be for just about anybody, but likely, I mean, with the rumors of him trading up and getting Starks, I would think that's the guy he might be moving up to get.
Nah, it's got to be Will Johnson, man. It's got to be.
It very well could be as well. I would not be mad at all if it's either one or if it's my guy Donovan.
Yeah, I didn't expect Donovan to be here, but I think the only reason
someone's saying James Pierce.
The only reason Donovan's here is because those other guys are still there too. So I feel like they're right on the brink. But
all right, well, let's keep an eye out and see if a trade happens.
The Vikings pick is in, so see what happens with the Vikings. Now they're up on the clock.
Maybe Howie makes another deal with the Houston Texans at pick 25, where he made the CJ trade earlier this offseason, calls him back up, gets on the phone, they make another deal. Howie trades the 32nd overall pick for CJ Gardner-Johnson and the 25th pick. And they get a safety back, and then they draft Will Johnson, and their secondary's patched up again. Imagine that.
But yeah, I mean, there's a number of guys they can go with. Somebody on Twitter also mentioned James Pierce. That's something else I would like to see. So I mean, as
He's a
of right
character
now,
issue type guy, though. So I mean, he's probably going to be Maxwell Hairston is also somebody they could target. Jahad Campbell's interesting too from Alabama. He's a guy that's one of the best available for quite some time now, sitting on the board. A linebacker that has versatility. Um, kind of off ball. He's got a little shoulder issue going on, but he makes plays and he makes things happen. So.
do you see the report this morning that an anonymous GM said if he gets a call from Howie Roseman, he's not even
Oh,
picking him?
hold on. We got to stop you real quick because Rashad, here's your moment. We talked about the Texans making a trade. The Giants have jumped back onto the clock.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Actually, it just said 25, but it actually says that they're trading with the Rams, so that's actually 26. So I'm confused on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm
Rams.
seeing here the Rams are trading and Rappaport said the Rams are trading, the Giants are on the clock, which doesn't make sense because
Yeah, but he said the
25
Giants
is
are on the clock at 25, though. I don't know if he tweeted the wrong number out or not.
Yeah, I see
Well,
it.
I think
The
he
Giants got the
might have
25
tweeted the wrong
pick.
team because
They're gonna get Sanders. They gotta go with Sanders.
Sanders, I think it's going to be Dart, though.
Okay, we'll
I
see.
think they like Dart, but this might influence Sanders to get traded up for right now, too. All right, the Texans traded 25, so the Texans were the team that actually made the trade. The Giants did it for in exchange for 34, second pick in this second round, 99, and a third rounder in 26. So that's not even a bad price if we're going to get a quarterback.
No, that's not bad at all. I would think now is when they go with Shador Sanders.
I think this is it. They gotta go with him.
Yeah.
They gotta go with him. Sanders.
I would expect, considering they've traded up, that you're going to see the pick is in rather quickly here. It looks like Joe Schoen is on the phone with whoever they're about to select.
This is Rashad. This is a massive moment for Brian Dable, Joe Schoen.
Yeah.
This is the moment
Yeah,
right here. This is probably the biggest moment in Giants football in the past 5 years. Honestly, they're trading back.
This is a possible redemption arc, if anything.
This is where if they can get a discount on a quarterback that they trade back into the first round after whiffing on Daniel Jones that high, this could be something that we look back on.
It would be really funny if they don't take him.
Jackson Dart's on the screen right now being shown. Let's see his reaction. He's smiling a little bit. He's dapping people up. It looks like Jackson Dart. This is his moment. He's hugging people. He's dapping people up. I don't know if that's just him meeting people.
I think I might be a little bit ahead of you. How much time is on the clock on your screen?
3:10.
Oh yeah, I'm at 2:54. I'm well ahead. I will stay silent then. You're at what, 2:38? You said?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're ahead of us all.
You just influenced me to refresh my whole entire system. So let me see if I can get back in there.
Now the pick is in. It's already in. I see right here the pick is in for the Giants. So see what they do.
Oh no! Oh no! This is
Don't say anything. Do not say anything.
No, are you watching ESPN?
Yeah.
Why are they playing a Saquon Barkley commercial right as the Giants picks up to get it down? That was the first commercial.
Oh, I'm looking at Lilo and Stitch commercial. Maybe there was before that. I just wasn't paying attention. I saw a Gatorade commercial earlier with the tagline "Gatorade, is it in you?" And I thought, what? Now I'm singing Matthew Stafford sleep number bed commercial.
Up, I saw the pic.
I remember back in high school, we were watching a video in class, but there was an ad first, and it was featuring some Marine veteran telling a story. And we were like, you know what? Let's not skip this. Let's see what this is about. And then he just goes, and that's why I sleep on a sleep number bed. And we are like, oh, come on. All right, skip this. I hate these long commercial breaks right when the pick is in.
Remember Nikola Jokic got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial?
Yeah, I've only heard
I
people
think he
bring
said
that
he's
up
never
a
had
million
Taco Bell
times.
because of that commercial.
No, the size of that guy, you kidding me? He's eating Taco Bell every weekend. I haven't had Taco Bell in a while. Last time I had Taco Bell, I had one of those grilled cheese burritos.
All
They're
right, we
pretty
got another trade. The Falcons are trading up to 26. So the Falcons could be
really,
trying to like really rebuild. Howie can't be sitting on his hands now. Now he's sort of get frustrated.
yeah.
Could the Falcons be trying to get Mike Green if we're getting an edge already and just get two edges right off the bat like that? They were rumored to like Mike Green a lot.
Wouldn't be a horrible idea. Jackson Dart's got a smile on his face, man. I think it's Jackson.
Dan Orlovsky saying that there's a lot of Jalen Hurts and Bo Nix to Jackson Dart's game.
All right, let's see.
All right, so it's going to start getting interesting. We got one trade with the Giants now. The Falcons trade's official. It hasn't been shown on the TV screen yet, but on social media, the Falcons have traded with the Rams back to 26. So here's the Giants pick right here.
Have we all seen it yet? Zach, have you seen it?
Not yet. Hold on. And there it is. Rashad, did you hear that? You can take the
Yeah,
floor here,
Jackson
Rashad, as
Dart.
a
Yeah, I
Giants
saw it.
fan.
Heard it.
Here it is.
Yep. Yeah, no Shador Sanders. I thought they'd go with him, but they love this Jackson Dart guy. So it's a good pick for the Giants. They need a quarterback. That's what it's all about. That's the most important position in football. So they're going with him. So I'm good with that. But the thing is, Shador Sanders, man, he's gonna continue to slide out of the second round. Looks into the second round. Looks like so. Like he's not gonna be drafted at all in the first round. So I'm surprised by that. But the Giants got what they wanted. So see how he does at the next level, Jackson Dart.
I mean, they get what they need in a quarterback. I just wonder if this is another
Well, this was the
situation
talk all
where
along that they like Jackson Dart more than Shador Sanders, like the recent last week talk. And for both of those guys to be available, I think they still would have probably made a move back in to get Shador if Jackson Dart was already taken. But since they got to pick between the two, Jackson Dart was the guy. So the price for the Falcons to move up for this pick with the Rams at 26, the Falcons had to trade pick 46 in the second round, 242, and a first round pick in 2026 to get 26 and 101. So the price might be a little steep for Howie Roseman to move up right now, but also they're moving up from the second round 46 as opposed to like 32 and moving up 5 spots. You know what I mean? So
I'm
I'm just
starting to.
interested who the Falcons are actually going to try and take. Like, are they going to try and double up on the edge rusher right here, which would be best case scenario maybe for the Eagles if they want one of these defensive backs? That's just how I'm locked in on defensive back right now. I know you like Donovan a lot. I know you like Malachi Starks a lot too. But I'm locked in with Will. I didn't think Will Johnson would be available on the board. He could easily be the guy that the Falcons are trading up for right now.
I'm starting to think now the most likely outcome for Shador Sanders is maybe pick 33 to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to Cleveland. Yeah.
Because, I mean, in terms of who needs a quarterback that's going to be picking
definitely
next,
need
it's
to
I
going
was
to be
just
the
about to say
Browns.
that the Browns could see that as a win for the draft, but they also just passed up on potentially generational Hall of Fame on two sides of the ball player in Travis Hunter. So I love Mason Graham, but I still can't get over passing on Travis because if you walk away from the first 33 picks of the draft or 34 picks of the draft with Travis Hunter at 2, just staying put, and then getting Shador at a discount at 34, I mean, imagine how good you would feel.
But that's the thing. You could have done both. All that means is you could have done both. You could have done both
I
Travis
mean, they got
Hunter
some more
and
ammo there. They got an
Shador.
extra first round pick. So, I mean,
But I mean, imagine walking away from the draft with the duo of Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. That would have been unreal.
yeah, I
And
didn't even, honestly, saying it like that, I didn't even make the connection of like how they already, it was already best friends with each
I
other.
mean, you get that dynamic duo from Colorado and Travis Hunter and Shador. I mean, that could have
I
very
think like
well been a
if you wanted
possibility
to get
now.
the most immediate help out of Shador Sanders, you would like it would be
Yeah,
Travis Hunter being his
yeah,
receiver.
absolutely, man. I think if they end up getting Shador, I think the story is more so what could have been.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that yesterday. I completely forgot about that. Did you hear about the story of Joe Shane's son Carson? Put up on Instagram yesterday a highlight reel of Jackson Dart on his Instagram story, and then immediately made his Instagram story private right after he did it.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
So
I
are you
forgot
telling me
that
he's
somebody
still
just.
influencing? Is he still influencing who the Giants draft?
I mean, he was the one that also said, I don't know if it was that son. I don't know how many sons that he has, but one of the sons was
Yeah,
telling him
you
to
said
trade up
take
for
Malik
Jaden Daniels.
Neighbors. He said take Malik Neighbors or trade up and get whatever quarterback he said to trade up and get.
It was Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, that's right.
All
All
right,
right.
so the Falcons have traded up, and they did target an edge rusher, but I won't tell you who it is. But they traded up for an edge rusher, so that's best case scenario in my opinion for the
Okay,
Eagles.
so you already know who this pick is.
Yeah,
Yep, it is a guy I would have liked. I would not have hated seeing an Eagles uniform, James Pierce, but that means with only a handful of picks to go. We still have plenty of options still, with Donovan or Starks or Will Johnson, who's still on the board somehow.
All right, let me read you on the books right now. There's live odds for this 32nd overall pick. Jahad Campbell is the favorite. Actually, Jahad Campbell's the third favorite. He's plus 430. Mike Green plus 340. Malachi Starks plus 340. Nick Emanwari plus 1200. Josh Simmons, the tackle that I pitched to you on our podcast, if you would trade up for him, and you said no. He's plus 3,400 with one of the top names listed. The 32nd pick, but this isn't specifically the Eagles. This is Shador's plus 900 for the 32nd overall pick, but that's a team trading up with the Eagles for him.
Wait, have you seen the details of this Falcons Rams trade yet?
Yeah, I just told you though, and how they had to give up a first round pick to move up that far, which is kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they moved up from 46 to 26, and they also moved up from 242 to 101. So I mean, giving up a first rounder to make those massive leaps. I mean, I think the Rams might have won that trade, or no, the Falcons. I mean, might have won that trade. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, they also targeted two players at one of the most important positions in football too. So if either one of them works out, or if both of them works out, it's completely justified. Ravens here, they could be going Nick Emmanwari. Pair him up with Kyle Hamilton, 2 6'3" safeties causing havoc in the backfield. Wait, whoa. We got some interesting stuff going on in the NBA playoffs. So Memphis is drilling the Oklahoma City Thunder 77-51 at halftime.
Oh, wow.
And the craziest part is they're down by 26 and their live money line is plus 600. That's actually crazy.
Oh, Micah Parsons was not happy with the Tyler Booker pick. That is funny.
And he publicly let that be known on like the whatever he was talking about. Like he's on the what is it, the Bleacher Report.
He's on with Lefko. All I'm seeing in the clip is he kind of just throws his arms up like. So, yeah, that's funny, man.
I get that he wants to voice his opinion and like that, have an avenue for a career because that's obviously what I try and do, talking sports. But he's got to be a little reserved in the way that he reacts to some things because some of the things you do like that, aren't good signs to being a good teammate.
No, he's a terrible teammate. He's a horrible teammate, dude. Oh my god. He's deaf. I really think he's gonna want out of there. He seems so fed up. Just consistently. And honestly, this is a real possibility that Dallas 3 years in a row whiffs on their first round picks. Mozzie Smith at this point is an undoubted bust. Tyler Guyton from last year, not looking great so far.
Tyler Smith's good though, really good.
Tyler Smith's good, yeah, but their
Ceedy's
first round
obviously
picks
really
from the past 2 years, Mozzie Smith undoubtedly a bust, and their pick from last year not off to a great start. If they end up with 3 straight draft busts, being a team that for so long was known for their quality of drafting, I think it would be really funny to see.
Mike Green's on the board. He's somebody that's real coveted, but there was a chance that he would slip. There's a chance that he was too good to pass up on. He had the most sacks in college football last year. Obviously, he has some allegations against him. And one thing that Eagles GM Howie Roseman has said that he will not draft players that have been involved with cases of potential abuse versus women. So I don't know if that's based off of like how much thorough research they've done on him, but if they pass on Mike Green and he's on the board at that spot, then not only the league-wide concerns are real with him, then the Eagles just couldn't check him off. And I wouldn't even – if they pass on him at 32, they're going to pass on him at any time that he's on the board when they're on the clock. So. The Ravens pick is in. This probably seems like a crazy, twitchy defensive player, but surprise pick, maybe a tight end like Mark Andrews. There's been rumors with him, but I feel like Mark Andrews just they should just play out that situation. He's too good for him. He's their all-time leading touchdown scorer in Ravens history. So keep him on the roster. Wide receiver could be in play here. They love defensive backs. Obviously, I could see a safety really going here. They love using safeties in different scenarios and different types of situations too. Always love their edge rushers, like a James Pierce could have easily been their pick. So that's what I'm looking at. They could probably use some offensive line help too. They got Ronnie Stanley back in free agency, but Donovan could easily go right here, Dante.
Hopefully not.
Man.
But we
Oh
are
man,
already at pick 27, so
I
we
saw
still
the
got
pick.
plenty of good
You're not going to be
options.
happy, Dante. You will not be happy about this one.
Stop looking at the picks ahead of time, man.
It's coming
Oh.
up on my phone in like 4 different avenues.
You know, it's funny because just a few years ago, a lot of us wanted the other safety that they took in the first round.
Yeah, Gordon Davis. But um, when I said that, did you think I was talking about Donovan? Because
I
thought
thought, well, I thought it was either Donovan or one of the other prospects.
or
Just
Malachi.
if you see anything, don't even do the big reaction. I don't. I want to be completely blind going into the pick. I don't want any remote spoilers.
I'm starting to get hyped up now.
Just if you see it
Rashad, I
ahead of
actually pitched
time,
you earlier in the
just
day.
say
I specifically
absolutely
asked you if the
nothing.
Giants were going to draft again tonight. So we had that conversation. So you've already been able to witness 2 first-round picks. I mean, the Giants of any team, has there been a team that's drafted twice in the first round more than the Giants have in the past 10 years? They had the Evan Neal Kayvon year. They had Daniel Jones and what's his name? Dexter Lawrence. And then they had this year with Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter. So
Yeah, Elliot Shore Parks took the words out of my mouth. He tweeted, "First Kyle Hamilton, now Malachi Starks."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this
That's what
one
we did
hurts a bit, but we
secondary.
still got plenty of good options.
yeah, the Eagles are in a good spot right now. I'm just
I know a
juiced up right
lot
now.
of Eagles fans are a lot more upset than we currently are because there's a lot of Eagles fans that for them it was like Starks or bust pretty much.
Yeah, but also you know how Eagles fans are, where it's like something becomes like a theme, and they're just become obsessed. Like a lot of those
Yeah.
people like see Georgia, and it's just another Georgia guy has to happen, bro. Like
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, it's like there's still a few guys left available that I'd be very happy with. I mean, I'd be thrilled with either Donovan or Will Johnson. So
Never know. Detroit may go with Will Johnson. They do need to get better at cornerback.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they just
Yeah,
need defense.
they defense
Well,
wasn't great
I mean,
against
I mean, their
Stanford
defense
last year.
was really banged up this past season,
Yeah,
but
they were
based
banged up.
on how
Yeah,
things ended, they would be looking for defense.
yeah. And Johnson
I'm
still gonna
wondering
be on the
how
board.
things would have shaped out for them had what's his name not gotten hurt in the beginning of the season. I'm blanking on his name right now for some reason. Oh, Aiden Hutchinson.
yeah, they got a new defensive coordinator this year too. They got 2 new coordinators on both sides of the ball. So teams have historically struggled trying to replace 2 guys. They need some edge help. It can't just be the Aiden Hutchinson show. They gave Aleem McNeil, defensive tackle, a big deal too, but um, they need to, solidify some pass rush on the edge. So they might be a team that just doesn't care and will take the most talented guy, which could be Mike Green. But I also could see Donovan being that guy, and I will probably keep saying that as he is the number 1 edge still on the board until he comes off the board. So
And now in terms of Baltimore, speaking of Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks, I mean, this is going to be one hell of a safety duo now.
yeah, they were signing safeties that were good too. They just didn't work out for some reason. I'm drawing a blank on the safety's name that they got that played with the Jets, and I think he came from the Saints, but I completely forget his name. But they signed some safeties in free agency. It just didn't work out for them, and they're a city that's always valued defensive backs a lot, and obviously having one of the best safeties of all time in Ed Reed, a position they've always valued. So.
Yeah, and I mean they already got a major boost last year when they added Derrick Henry to the offense. If having an elite safety duo gives them an even larger boost, then who knows? Maybe they can finally get over the hump in the playoffs. Somebody's got to dethrone Kansas City over there in the AFC. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's been the same teams that have been trying to do it and just haven't been able to do it. And then the one team that was able to do it hasn't been able to get back to being able to do it. So it's pretty much been the Ravens, the Bills, and the Bengals been trying to get after that and haven't been able to get it done.
And the Bills, man, they've had some serious chances at it. All right, here we go. Detroit's pick is in. Just go offense for some stupid reason. Do that, please. I don't want any more.
I saw reports that
I don't want any more defensive players taken off the board.
I saw reports that Jameson Williams could actually be available for trade too, who they spent the 15th overall pick a couple years back in 2022 on. So, wide receiver wouldn't be completely ruled out here, but they're going to go.
Okay. I don't hate that.
Someone on the ESPN broadcast just screamed, "You guys are crazy!" as that pick was announced. And
Wait, are you getting audio on yours?
Oh, this is in Green Bay, so they're like taunting in division rivals. So somebody that's a Packers fan probably was just caught like saying, "You guys are crazy," and then he was like, "Ah."
So I'm assuming you've seen the pick by now.
Yeah, Tyleek Williams, defensive tackle.
Yeah. So I cited one other defensive player taken off the board, but I mean, I'm not mad about this at all. Still leaves. So what we got? 3 more picks before us.
Washington, this could be a skill position player here, even though they got Deebo in the offseason. This could be a running back or a wide receiver. I feel like the wide receiver wise, it would be Luther Burden or Travion Henderson, running back wise.
Yeah, so we got 3 more picks ahead of us. We got 2 guys that I really want. So I'm starting
Who are those
to
2 guys, Donovan and Will Johnson?
Yeah.
Nick Emanwari could be the pick here to the Washington.
And that's another guy I would really like to see too. So as long as Washington does not take one of those 3 guys, that means we were guaranteed to be able to draft one of those 3 guys.
Maxwell Hairston's going to be there too.
Let me look at the available safeties. Yeah. Nick Emanwari, Xavier Watts, Notre Dame guy.
I like him, but he's second round. Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State's another guy that they brought.
Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma. So, yeah, I mean, between Emanwari, Donovan, and Will Johnson, I mean, we're in prime position to get one of those guys on defense. Maxwell Hairston is another corner.
Yeah, that's what I said. He's the 4-2 corner that's got good size from Kentucky. He's somebody that they had a visit with as well. So the Eagles were apparently at Will Johnson's private workout.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm liking our options here. We're really starting to like our options here.
I just never thought Will Johnson was going to be on the board this long. I didn't know the medicals were shaping up to look like it hasn't been known until like now that the medicals were this bad. But I didn't think he was going to be available. So I'm trying to like decipher in my brain if like I'd rather have Emanwari at safety or him at corner. But like I'm thinking Will Johnson. Before, like when we're talking about the draft, say it was April. Say we were like doing this live draft show for 2024, and we were like looking ahead to the 2025 draft a year in advance. Like we were talking about Will Johnson as a top 3 pick in this year's draft, and for him to be on the board right now, is pretty crazy. So, um, like Will Johnson to me, like has to be the pick as much as I love Wari.
Yeah, somebody tweeted. I don't know if you follow Philly Sports Suffer, one of the more insufferable Philly sports Twitter accounts, but he tweeted, "What's the best player we can get that's left on the board?" And everyone's saying Will Johnson. Elliot Short Parks tweeted, "Of the players left, I like Donovan or Maxwell Hairston." Jeff McLean tweeted possibilities as Donovan, Mason Taylor, Nick Emenwaru, Maxwell Hairston, Josh Simmons. Come on with the tackles. Will Johnson. And with all the talk about what the Eagles are doing, we didn't even really mention, or at least maybe you did, but I was too focused on Twitter. The Lions do add somebody else to the D line with Tyleik Williams, so that's something they definitely need.
Yeah, man, Hutchinson.
Yeah, just add some depth. Just beef up the D line. They had a lot of guys they had to rely on with the crazy amount of injuries they had to their defense. They just gave their safety Kirby Joseph a big contract. We got a lot of picks this year on the back end, so they're shoring up the defense because they probably think their offense is ready to compete with any. Their offensive line's really good. Got good receiving options and a two-headed backfield.
Here we go. Commanders about to make their selection. No spoilers.
I saw the pick already.
Don't just leave it at that. And they go with okay. All right, cool.
Did you see the video? Did you guys see the video of Mike Green without pads on doing a pass rushing rep in the off season, and he blows up the defense, and he blows up the tackle, like runs through the tackle without pads on? That tackle was Josh Connerly. There's a video of Mike Green literally like picking him up and throwing him without both of them having pads on, doing like a pass pro set. And it's
did you say Mike Green or Mike Green?
Mike Green, the pass rusher that's falling from Marshall. I'll see if I can find the Mike Green to Josh Connerly.
So I was going to say, if it was Mike Breen, that is quite funny.
That's the NBA announcer.
I know. That's why I thought that would be very funny.
Never know. They may go to Buffalo because Buffalo needs to get better on defense. No.
Oh, no, they did have pads on. I don't know why I was thinking they didn't. Dante, check your Twitter DM.
Yeah, let me see this. Oh, God. Yeah, maybe not a great draft selection by the Commanders. And that's a team that needs offensive line help. So if that is their offensive line help, then good luck. So, okay. You know what? I'm actually thrilled about that because that's, less low-hanging fruit in the offensive line department for the Eagles.
He's actually a good player. That's one outlier rep, but I mean, he is a good player. Mike Green's also a
But either way, if Buffalo or Kansas City could also draft that other offensive tackle who's still high up on the board, I forget his name, then that would pretty much cement we don't go O-line, and then we really have our options open for some of those other players we want.
Buffalo could be in play at safety because, they lost both their safeties. They've been trying to rely on DeMar Hamlin to fill that role, but he's just not that caliber of player. They lost in the past couple of years, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, so they could be trying to replenish that safety and maybe go even Wari. Cornerback as well. Could be looking to try and pair a cornerback. They've been out big extensions to guys on the roster on the defensive side of the ball this offseason. And, we talked about the Khalil Shakir contract that they gave out as well. So wide receiver wouldn't even be crazy for them to think about either. Keon Coleman's pretty good. Khalil just got that contract, but they don't really have a third guy. Amari Cooper wasn't that guy, and he's still a free agent after they didn't bring him back.
Okay.
Melchior saying it right now. Like, I'd be mad if the Bills get Will Johnson right now. I'd be very upset about that.
If the Bills do not take either Donovan or Will Johnson, then that ensures we will have the chance at taking either one or the other. So I'm a bit nervous for this pick.
He's in.
The pick is in.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
I'm going to be really upset if this is Will Johnson. I'm going to be really upset.
Don't check Twitter. Don't do anything. Just watch your screen so there's no inaudible gasps of any sort.
Now, there'll be some gaps.
Let's see. Come on. Don't take Will or Donovan.
Don't take even Wari either. Take a tackle.
I'm assuming McNabb would have been our last Donovan taken in the first round.
Might be the last Donovan they drafted.
We've retired his fucking number. I was gonna say, what if we draft Donovan and he ends up going with number 5, but we already retired it? That would be funny though.
Number 5's not even a pass rushing number. You'd end up like my boy Rashad's boy.
Yeah, but pass rushers are allowed to use single digit numbers now.
I know, but the only pass rusher I know that wears number 5 is Kayvon Thibodeau.
But I think it would be funny to have another number 5 Donovan. However, it's unfortunately not possible because we retired McNabb's number, whatever. Okay, come on, you sons of bitches.
All right, we're approaching territory. We could be 10 live minutes or 10 actual minutes away from the Eagles pick here. So
yeah, let's see who Buffalo
jitters in the stomach. That'd be a massive, massive letdown. I'm not trying to set the scene of negativity here, but it'd be a massive letdown if Howie chose to move out of the pick after we waited all night for him to draft.
Well, that's exactly what he did after we won in 2017.
And
then I didn't even get to watch night 2 because
all right, the Eagles have traded up. The Eagles have traded up one spot to 31.
What
so whoever the Bills
the hell
pick
is
right
the point
now,
of trading up one spot? What is the point in doing that?
Because if the Chiefs
You're not
agreed
leapfrogging anyone.
If the Chiefs
so if Kansas City is okay with trading back, then that means they don't want the same guy you want, which means there might be an
agreement that they are just willing to trade it just because we like this guy too, but you can have him if you're going to give us something.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, so basically this means we're either going to get Donovan or Johnson. The question is, does this Buffalo pick dictate which one it could be?
I'm so nervous right now after that.
I am very nervous.
I'm starting the blood's pumping right now. I'm starting to get real nervous.
My palms are sweating a bit, dude. My palms are sweating.
I don't even want to sit straight. Oh, I can't even sit. Don't roll the pick. No reactions.
No reaction. Let me know when you see it.
Yes. Yes.
I think we're getting Will, man. I think we're getting Will.
Dude, the Eagles gave up pick 164 to move up one spot. That's it?
That's Howie, baby. What round is that, pick 164? That's 4th? Or 5th? It is funny to see a team that just lost to another team in the Super Bowl now do them a favor in the draft. That is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's interesting to see that happen. The team
The
that
Eagles don't care. I mean, the
lost to
Eagles
make a
made two
trade
trades.
with each other.
The Eagles made 2 trades with Washington last year and played them the NFC Championship.
So I mean, I said earlier it would be classic if somebody once again somehow, some way falls all the way to the Eagles, and it seems like that might happen here with Will Johnson. So yeah, pick 160 said that. Yeah, that's a pick 161. Yeah, that's a 5th round pick. All we gave up was a 5th rounder to move
Patrick
up.
Mahomes just tweeted like sunglasses, so I don't know what's going on in Kansas City, but
So our 4 5th round picks were slated to be 161, 164, 165, and 168, which is kind of funny. They're all jumbled together. We gave up the best of the 5th round picks, but it really doesn't make a huge difference.
oh my, we end up with Coop, Quinyon Mitchell, and Will Johnson as the last 3 cornerbacks drafted. Oh man, jeez.
Not only that,
Oh man,
it's a secondary with those 3 corners. That's insane. So
up and I
I'm
just saw the
putting my
pick.
phone down.
And I
My
saw the
phone is
pick.
face down. My phone is face down. I'm only looking at the screen, and I'm going to wait on this.
Yeah, they're gonna be deeper in the secondary if they get Will Johnson. I mean that'll be a incredible pick.
Absolutely, man. And even if for some reason they trade up and they end up taking, like, I feel like at this point you got to take Will Johnson, but even if they take Don Veneer, I'm still thrilled.
Dante.
I really like him, man. Amazing
Dante.
combine, 16 and a half sacks his senior year.
It's already completely ruined for me. So, but you're gonna be.
Don't tell me what I'm gonna be. Don't
man.
say
You're
anything.
gonna be.
Stop. I'm not listening to you. I'm not freaking listening to you. Jesus. Just say nothing. Say nothing. I'm glad now at least I know. I don't know if you're about to say I'm gonna be happy or upset. I'm glad I don't know that now. So now let me watch the pick. All right, let's move on with the celebration here. Come on, get to the Eagles pick. I swear to God, if they go to commercial break before this, no, they're coming out. Who is coming out? Is it going to be anyone special, or is it just going to be Goodell? It would be cool to see one of the Super Bowl champion players of the Eagles come out to announce the pick, or maybe a previous Super Bowl 52 winner. And we're going to commercial, aren't we?
This is taking way too long.
We're going to commercial. So we have to go through a whole commercial break with you knowing who the pick is, because for some reason you can't help yourself.
Don't check my Twitter either, because I'm already reacting to it.
What's that?
Don't check my social media because I'm already reacting to the pick.
I'm not even looking at my phone. Why did you have to go and look? And why was it announced on Twitter so early? That's what, social media has ruined the draft.
All I'm going to tell you, Dante,
NBA, no, do not say anything.
No, I'm saying one thing. That's it.
No. You know what? I'm turning off my audio. I don't want to know anything. My audio has been muted. I can't hear anything now. Oh, I hope Zach is happy.
Did you mute me?
What the fuck? How can I still hear you? I turned off my laptop audio. I literally turned off my laptop audio and I can still hear you. I'm going to mute you on here. How do I mute you? Settings, audio, switch it to the Yeti. There we go. I've completely gone dark. Thank God. That was weird though. How the hell was I still able to hear you? Stupid Zach not being able to help himself. I'm sitting here in silence.
This suspense. I just want to talk about it right now, but
Gotta wait through this whole commercial break while the world knows who we took. It's tomfoolery.
oh, there's a nasty.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Before Zach said, I just gotta say one thing. What I was gonna say is, I think social media is ruining the NBA and NFL drafts. You used to just watch it on the screen, and you would react to the picks as they were happening, rather than just go on social media to find out. And it ruins the whole point of watching it on TV.
No,
It's
I
been
didn't
ruined.
try. And, that's not what
I mean,
happened.
now you have to shut yourself out from the outside world to watch
No, I
them
was trying to
live.
tweet
But then
something
when
about
you
the
do
previous
that,
pick.
then you feel shut out from the outside of the world. You feel like the whole world is reacting to the pick that was selected while you're just in the dark. You can't win either way.
I was reacting to another pick that I was tweeting about, and then I came across it on accident. So that's what happened. I can't
All right,
believe.
here we go. We're back. I'm going to unmute you now. Don't say anything. All right, let's see. I can't believe all we gave them was a fifth rounder to move up. That's crazy. All right, Goodell, give me some good news. Give me some good news, Goodell. I don't get why we traded up to get him, but I don't hate it.
He was another top talent that fell down the draft that was like right in the top 15 of everybody's board. They just tweeted. I forget who just tweeted it, but said that the Eagles tried trading up with the Chargers for him and ended up only having to trade up and give up a fifth.
Yeah, so I guess they really wanted him, and knowing how players seemingly fall to us, and knowing what happened last year when we thought we weren't going to get DeJean because we drafted Mitchell, I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason either Will Johnson or Donovan ends up falling in the second round, and then we trade up and get him. So
I'm never going to be mad about them taking like a guy from Alabama or one of those pedigree type schools at this point in the first round. You know what I mean? Especially like it always seems like all fall linebackers from Alabama are really good. So he flies sideline to sideline, versatile, probably somebody that matches up. And how I said that Nakobe Dean might not get a second contract with the Eagles, this could be something that hurts those chances because I mean if we're talking about from a talent standpoint, he's bigger, faster, stronger than Nakobe Dean. So,
well, he's also. I mean, they also use him as a pass rusher. So I'm excited to see if with the Eagles if he's used more as a pass rusher or of an off-ball linebacker.
Yeah, the other the Jalen Walker was 6'1", like 244, so he was a lot smaller. He's 6'3", 235, so weight wise. But he's got some length to him with being 6'3". Like I said, an Alabama guy, you can't go wrong with an Alabama guy at this point. I was in love with Will Johnson as a prospect and Nick Evenwari, but he looks fired up right now, juiced up that he got drafted by the Eagles. I mean, what better team to get drafted by right now in the NFL than the Eagles than probably this team that's picking right now. in the Chiefs. So the Chiefs kind of were floating around with not bringing Nick Bolton back at linebacker. So maybe that's
Wait a minute. Not to cut you off, but I've just come to a revelation. The Eagles have gone linebacker in the first round.
I was just about to say the Eagles made history. That's what the one thing I was going to tell you because that's the first time they've went linebacker since 1979.
I didn't realize I know it's been ages. I didn't know it was that long. Wow. That's
And
something.
two of my favorite positions in football are running back and linebacker just because they're asked to do so much on the field and they're involved with almost every collision on the field. So I love all-four linebackers. I just didn't expect the Eagles to do this, but this is also a guy that provides value with being able to do more.
And
Hold on. I want to hear him talk real quick.
Man, he was running through that tunnel.
Are you an Eagles chant 15 seconds into being an Eagle?
Hell yeah.
You said the rich got richer. It feels great.
He looks excited, man. He looks pumped up to be an Eagle. Oh, he's originally from New Jersey? Where in New Jersey is he from? He went to Timber Creek? What?
Did he really?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I did not know that. That's crazy. Oh my god, that is so funny. I did not know he went to Timber Creek.
He didn't finish at Timber Creek. That's why he went to IMG.
Oh yeah. He went
like IMG
to
is
Timber
like
Creek for
football
3.
school.
Yeah, but I mean, he spent most of his time in high school at Timber Creek. So how about that,
I played
man?
Timber Creek in high school when I played football. So
It's another South Jersey kid. Wow, that explains why he was so pumped, bro.
what's his name? One of the South Jersey kids, either was Bashal Tootin or Donovan Ezaruku, is a Cowboys fan, I think. From South Jersey.
One former NFL player who went to high school also in Blackwood at the other high school. The name of it is eluding me. The one on Blackwood Clementon Road. You know what high school I'm talking about?
What'd you say?
Do you know the high school in Blackwood on Blackwood Clementon Road? I think it starts with an H. I can't Highland maybe.
Hamilton?
No. The one D tackle from the Packers, he went there.
Yeah.
Oh my
Mike,
god!
Mike,
The name of the player and the high school are, but I can't. For some reason, I can't think of
was it
either.
Mike Pennell?
Huh?
Mike Pennell?
No. Oh my god, this is gonna bug the fucking shit out of me.
I know the
Hold
player
on.
that you're talking about, though. Josh
Packers.
Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State's the last pick of the first round to the Chiefs. They obviously had big-time issues. They tried playing Joe Tooney at tackle in the Super Bowl and got dominated by
Mike Daniels. Mike fucking Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was the name? Now I gotta see what the name
My
of that
dad
high
was
school
talking to
is.
him like a summer or
This will
two
live around
ago
the
at
corner
that high
from
school
me.
that you're talking about.
Yeah, it was Highland. It was Highland. Okay, yeah. So Highland, the other high school in Blackwood. That makes me so happy to learn that Jihad is from Ariel.
So, do we want to promise our Paisan Sports Podcast viewers that we'll be back on Monday because we'll be anxious to talk about the draft picks?
We can do Monday as long as we can do it earlier. If we can lock in 6:00 Monday, I'm good with that.
Might have to be later than that, but we'll see. I guess how it goes, but we'll try and do it early as possible in the week. Um, any final thoughts that you got, Rashad, on how the draft played out? I mean, your team could be argued made the biggest move of the entire draft so far, outside of Jacksonville trading up for Travis Hunter, having 2 first-round draft picks, along with the Falcons also doing that as well. Getting a quarterback and an edge. Those are like two of the most important positions in football. So I would say, looking from the outside in, I would be pleased if I was a Giants fan.
Yeah, it's been a great night, man. It's been a great night, doing this draft with you guys, and yeah, it's been an interesting night, man. No Shador Sanders not being drafted in the first round. That's a shocker. That's the major headline of this first round of the draft is him not being drafted. So it's gonna see what happens in the second round tomorrow. Who's gonna pick Shador Sanders? He's one of the big headliners, coming into this draft, with Cam Ward and others. So him to slip out of the first round, that's a shocker. Yeah, the Giants got their guy Jackson Dart. See what he does at the next level. The trade up with Cleveland and Jacksonville, that was a shocker. Travis Hunter definitely going to be a big time player for Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence got a huge weapon, and just see where he's going to play on the defensive side of the ball as well as on the offensive side of the ball. And Tyler Warren slipping, that was a surprise. Him going to the Colts, but it's a very interesting draft, man. I enjoyed it tonight with you two guys, and hopefully do it again with the NBA draft. That's possible. But
Oh,
I
for
enjoyed
sure.
tonight's
We're actually
conversation with
we
doing like
might we
this.
were thinking about even doing a live draft or a live lottery show because we're Sixers fans. So we could be potentially picking in the top five this year, and they're going to have a lottery for the NBA draft May 12th before the playoff games on Thursday on TNT. So we're locked into that. We'll see what Elevation 5280 Sports has for the draft. I know obviously they rep the Nuggets who are playing in the playoffs right now. They're not having the best night. They probably won't be drafting anywhere high in the NBA draft though. So, but we'll see if we can get some NBA draft content out too. It was a pleasure meeting you and doing this whole podcast with you. I'm glad that we got to share the experience of both of our teams trading up in the draft. Made it a little bit more spicy and exciting to talk about it. Uh, Me and Dante will be back for episode 96 of the Pies on Sports podcast at the beginning of next week. So you guys can tune into that. We'll obviously review what the Eagles did with the draft, talk about any NBA playoff news, and give you an update on what's going on with the Phillies. Rashad, I know you usually do your show live on the Elevation 5280 Facebook page on Thursdays, but couldn't do it today because of the draft show. So do you want to plug up your show for tomorrow? That's going to be live on the Facebook page.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to do it tomorrow. Review what took place tonight, and NBA stuff like that. I'm trying to get that done tomorrow
It'll
night.
be live on the Facebook page. What time is there any like estimated time that you'd be going live?
Maybe
Or
like 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that.
all right, cool. Yeah, so I've tuned into Rashad's shows. He definitely gives out a lot of information. So make sure you guys tune into that and be on the lookout for the Pies on Sports podcast. Um, Mike couldn't join us, like I said, tonight because we had to cover the Denver Nuggets game with them in the playoffs, but he would have been on here if he was able to. So we held down the fort for him. So thank you guys for tuning into the broadcast. And if you want some more coverage of our opinions and thoughts on the draft, just make sure you tune into our podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and we're signing off.